In the bum.
What?
Let's
get that on the front for the cold open. Andy, quick, end it in the bum.
It's time for another episode of Moonbase.
Woo, woo, woo.
Woo, woo! Woo, woo! Woo, woo! Woo, woo!
Hello everyone, and welcome to Moonbase 2 Woo Woo! That is still an awkward name to say. Moonbase 2's patron-exclusive show where we talk about stuff that's not related to Transformers, because we do have other interests, and Andy keeps editing out all my garbage out of the show. Today we are talking about the most recently ended Kamen Rider show, Kamen Rider X8, the one with the video games and the boogly eyes. And for this I have gotten a man of great Bugman knowledge. It is Mr. Chris Ho, back again. How are you, Chris?
I'm good. Sorry, did you say this thing was called Moonbase 2 Woo Woo?
Yeah, the opening goes woo woo.
Okay. You know what? That's cool.
I didn't name it. I had other ideas.
You know what? Okay, you know what? Let me take that back. Wow, that's silly. You know, I bet Mikey would have come up with a way better name. If he was here.
Basically from the fact that Andy describes things that have nothing to do with anything as woo woo.
No worries, no worries.
Because he's normal.
You know what? I respect it, because it's a decision he's made.
It is. But, because these kind of things are always a bit better with an extra voice to bounce off, we've also got on Matt. Hi, Matt.
Hi, I'm Matt. I have no respect for Andy.
I'm glad. I think it's good that you can admit that.
Indeed.
So yeah, let's get straight into it. Kamen Rider X8, the video game doctor show, which is a sentence I think caused a lot of people to tilt their heads. So we're going to do this a bit W2EF at TFW primetime kind of style of going around and...
Woo-woo!
You can't have it. It's copyrighted. Get your own. But we're going to go around, ask people what they think on general topics, and then we'll keep going on each one until I think we've covered enough ground, and we're going to hopefully not hold you too long. So, Chris, first impressions of the show. What would you like to start us on?
What happened? Hi! I might have accidentally turned my mic off, because I'm really good at this.
Professional.
You know what I'm doing is I figured, you know who needs work right away on this thing is Andy. He's editing it.
Damn straight.
So that's for you. So first impressions, you were right. And speaking as someone who's been into Kamen Rider since like the back end of Ryuki, it takes a lot for me to blink at something, and it was definitely the triplicate thing of two themes and visual of doctors plus video games plus we're getting rid of the bug eyes and doing these eyes instead. So it caught my attention. I was at TFCon actually. I woke up. I was staying over at another friend's room for the first night of TFCon on the Thursday, and I woke up to that first image drop, and I remember thinking it'd be super funny if the main hero of this is like just total friggin' like Gamergate scum. like the villains are all like caricatures, strawmans of journalists and stuff and indie developers, because at the time that seemed pretty funny because this was before the Dark Age began. But I definitely also was looking forward to it because I'm at a point now where like you can't make me think, oh, this Rider show is gonna suck, because I have found it to be too unpredictable. So I was looking at it thinking, you know, the only thing I can predict is when visuals are this kooky and not making me say what a badass right away. Half the time that also leads to a pretty cool show, so we'll see what happens. And the first episode, I was like, all right, they're leaning into this in a way I'll talk about this a bit more later, but I was very pleasantly surprised by the lack of cynicism and the lack of like corporate cynicism and how the video game side was leaned into.
Yeah, that was something that was quite interesting. That like I'm surprised they didn't like get sponsorship from more game companies or something like that. I mean, they had a bit of a relationship with like Pac-Man and or the company behind Pac-Man, or Namco.
Yeah, it's because Namco and Bandai have a long-standing partnership, which might be why no other game company got involved with it.
I don't think it was a bad thing.
No, I'm really happy they didn't get too cluttered with a lot of like they were referencing game ideas in a way that felt almost more wholesome than like, you know, putting it in the backdrop of trying to also sell some games. Like it's kind of like the way the show struck me in its delivery was so warm and and really loving of video games in a lot of ways. Like, it made me just want to crack one open, because I also really wanted to open this can, and I've been waiting for a reason to do it. It was a show you could really crack one open, just sit back, especially halfway through, and just go like, all right, XA, like, let's go. Like, that, the first impression of that show was like tentative optimism that blossomed about 2 months in.
You said something there, like, it's gotten to the stage where you can't go like, oh, this show is going to suck because of visuals and stuff. I remember when I first saw this, and I was just like, he's pink. He's a pink video game man. But he's a doctor.
He's Splatoon colors.
Yeah. And I remember going like, and he's got an NES controller for a chest. Okay. But the first thought that went in afterwards was just like, last time I had this reaction, it was fruit. It was a lot of fruit. And then
That's the thing, is that we're so close to Gaim as well.
Yeah.
When I saw a lot of people kind of go like, oh man, how can they possibly pull this one off? I'm like, guys, it's been like 3 years since the last time that happened. So let's just you know what? Maybe it'll suck, but let's ride it out here. Let's.
Yeah, I think the first thing I did was try and find out who the head writer was going to be. And
That's the thing now you got to do.
Yeah.
Figure out who the crew is, because at least you can sort of piece something together if you do that.
But it added to that Gaim vibe of just like, okay, he's never written for Rider before. And his background is comedy and deeply troubling psychological trauma.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Right.
He does 2 extremes. So I was like, I'm having an Urabachi moment. This is
Well, getting all of these non-writer writers, like, every time it happens, it seems to go real well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things like director-wise even, like the more they got away from that stable of directors who, I don't remember their names very well, it's the guys who would always get to do the movie Taisens or the superhero Taisens, because they were long-lived, and like you could always tell when they were directing because it was extremely phoned in. And some of the, like, there are a lot of X8 specials, bonus DVDs, bonus things, etc. And sometimes, like, you know, one of those older or less experienced even crews gets a hold of the X8 cast, and like you can tell. Like one of the, I don't know if it was a Hyper Battle DVD, but the one with the Pack Adventure and Famista, like all the branded games.
The one where
the Enmu thing?
where it was Tricks.
Yeah, Tricks.
Yeah.
It was the Genom.
Yeah.
Genom special.
That special, both episodes, I believe, of it, just reeked of a crew who didn't get it as much as the main crew, because it's like it was blocked very boringly, and also everyone referred to each other by their writer name, which, like, post Dr. Pac-Man, it feels super weird to have a bunch of people going like, Brave, Laser, Snipe, and it's like, y'all don't talk like that in the real show.
Yeah, like, the only one who kept that up was Snipe, was Taiga, like, and that was just like, it's a quirk. It's what he does. But, it was very obvious to me when they brought in the older crews, especially with one of the crossover movies we'll talk about later on. That was when I felt like, oh, this is you going back to the guys you've had around for years who are just kind of like, we just want to sleep.
Or are we talking about the one with the Q Rangers in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, I was not angry, because I by the time the film was done, I was like, even the setup of this was identical to the one with the Gokaigers in it. So this was probably one of those guys. But yeah, I had to, halfway through, I had to go like, you know what? Sakamoto can't direct every film. The guys who do like the Gaim action and the Wizard action can't direct every film. Sometimes these old guys will still get to direct films. I just have to write those off.
Yep, they need to feed their families too.
I will argue that in amongst all of that, and it was terrible, I believe I ended up having a DM battle of words with Mikey about the films. I didn't like that film, but then again, I'm not a big fan of the Tyson movies anyway. I'll argue that in amongst all of that was actually a pretty good, brave subplot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Bad fight, but good subplot.
Yeah, it would have been a very nice, like, one-off episode of the main TV show, just to show how, even though he proclaims to be, like the stoic super surgeon that can cut anything, there's going to be something that will tug at the heartstrings, even other than, of course, the death of his partner, that affects this guy, that will rock him. And you've got this sort of young boy trapped in the video world because he doesn't want to go back to the real world. I like that. That was the only aspect about it I did like.
It was actually one of the most frustrating parts for me, is that I felt important part of his story arc was confined to that film. It was kind of bumming me out, because I was like, this would have made for 2 or 3 really good episodes, but, it might have been like a bullet point that got pulled aside, and, this could make for a good movie subplot. It was a really nice aspect of his story. That and the one, the Oja one-off, Night of Safari, where it talked about his relation to the 2 nurses who kind of disappeared from the series after they first showed up.
So sad. They showed up for, I think, 1 episode of the main show?
Yeah, it was kind of cool that they took them as one of the subplot subjects for that, and used it to flesh him out some more. Like, it made me like that special even more. Like, it's a bummer that, like, to really get the full Exade story, like, you got to engage with all of it, which means you got to hunt all of it down. And figure out where it all fits together.
Still not fucking over.
When I was watching the show, I was following it on some unofficial fandom wikia of Kamen Rider, and they had a wild stab at fitting in all the specials and the movies into one cohesive whole. And which, yes, Mikey will completely dispute.
No, I was going to say the Rider wiki's hilarious when it tries to actually arrange things. Like, I love reading the trivia. Like...
No, the trivia is like an entity of itself. Like, it's like an AI trying to come to life.
It's amazing.
Overall, my main argument with it is the placements they put these particular things would have fitted like 2 episodes further down the line and so forth from a sort of storytelling aspect. But other than that, they weren't too bad.
Well, I mean, everything does air, like, the movies come out at a certain point during the series, which is, I think, the best time to see them, if you get the chance to watch stuff in the aftermath. And a lot of the specials for Exade did feel like, even though they, at being specials, they often will conflict with a lot of the minor story details, a lot of them felt like they did have a place to exist, like, especially the number of them that would, like, at least 2 of them foreshadowed Kyria coming back. And it is, I think, less effective to watch them after you've gotten to that point in the show, because it's like the Go Rider series, the miniseries, is one that you should watch before he and Dan come back. And then there's the Laser Hyper Battle DVD, which also, like, you should probably check out before he makes his actual return, because that one really directly foreshadows it.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's a weird thing. Like, continuity was, especially for all the side stuff, tight, very tight. But something,
it's not a usual writer, right? So you get someone who's like more.
But something I'm curious, Matt. You came in, like, we were talking first impressions. You're a bit different from the 2 of us in that your first impressions and your first viewing of the show are quite widely spaced.
I basically watched up to episode 6 when it first aired. I used to do this thing where I would only watch it in 6-episode chunks. And I did that with most shows and sort of gave up halfway through the run. And then what I did do in the end was basically I listened to you on Moonbase 2, and then Andy through you would then be my filter, because me and Andy's general attitudes when it comes to particular shows tend to verge on the same. If he tends to find a Kamen Rider show boring, it's a good chance that I will as well. So unfortunately, I never finished Drive. I never finished Ghost. Gaim is great. It is fantastic. For pretty much the same underlining vibe as Exade. There is pretty much a nice bit of darkness underlaying the happy-go-lucky doctor who plays video games. I picked up on that straight the heck away. As Mikey knows, because we ended up having a nice conversation about that. But for some reason, I finished with episode 6 with the intention of watching it another 6 episodes down the line, and then all kinds of stuff happened in real life which just shelved it. So what I decided to do when we then ended up around the episode 20 odd mark, I thought, well, I know it's going to be a short run. I'll just wait for the entire lot to air, and then as soon as it finishes airing, I'll just watch the whole lot in one chunk. And I did.
That's fantastic.
I watched the entire lot in 2 weeks. And my lord, I never burnt through a Kamen Rider show as quickly as I have done with this show.
There are a lot of Rider shows, in my opinion, that are enormously better when watched a la carte like that.
Blade.
Yeah, Blade. I've only watched the first half of Ghost still, but I watched the first half as a batch torrent, and I really liked it. And I found a lot of the things people were telling me they didn't like about the first half were very much hinged on also watching it weekly.
I think that's the better half. That's the problem.
That's the thing is a lot of people have also told me I'm through the good part, so I've been putting off watching the back half for a while. But with Exade also, there was a long break before I really got going on it, and I found like if you find a Rider series is kind of weak in the first couple weeks, like if you're really into Rider as a whole thing, I'd say just wait till episode 20 something, then grab the whack of it and start blowing through because. If you get rid of the 1 week waits, it can make the show, like, it can make the especially if a show gets sucked into being a toy commercial in the first chunk, like Exade, kind of blew through a lot of that early on. If you can blow through that too and not have to wait a week between toy commercials before you get to the good stuff, it can make it a lot better.
Yeah, but that being said, I've decided to go a completely different way with Kamen Rider Build, and I am watching that on a weekly basis.
Me too, because it's really good.
Bill's a weird animal in terms of like progression and plot, but it's weird.
I am so frightened though about Build because it just seems they're throwing so much into it now. What you're going to do for the next 45 episodes or whatever, because either you're going to be that good on plot. Or it's going to peter out within the teens, as Andy seems to think most Kamen Rider shows tend to do around that point.
Yeah, I got fingers crossed.
Yeah, there's a good team in it, and they clearly give a crap.
But so far, Build, it's great, especially the two male leads. With that being said, I will give my first thoughts when I first saw those. When I first saw that first impression, that first image of the Kamen Rider. I digged it whilst everyone else was hating on it. I freaking adored it because it was so different. Even if it turned out to be a wacky show, which it certainly wasn't, it seemed to me it would be like, a change from the norm. And I liked the color scheme. I liked the fact that the rider belt was this weird, garish 1990s neon color. With that being said, it certainly drew our friend Grufflock's attention because he's into that.
Still hasn't watched it.
He still hasn't. You need to, Adam.
Don't start this whole... He didn't even admit he watched Gaim for like 2 years.
Yeah, but that even within 2 years, he will get round to it eventually.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to admit it. That's the thing. He watches it, but he doesn't want to say you were right.
This is true. But, yeah, so that was my overall first impression. I really digged it. I just hope that the show was good enough to sustain that first initial hype in my mind. And I'm so happy to be proved wrong because, we've had such a long span now with Gaim, sneaking in there and being the show it was. We have had like a streak of shows that just peter out in the middle, or even before that when it came to Ghost. And I'll be absolutely honest, I felt I was done with Kamen Rider. This show's made me want to watch Kamen Rider again. We now live in a world where there is no Kamen Rider X8, and I feel that there should be. I want more video game playing doctors.
Wait 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, we've got the film coming out.
Is that really 2 weeks away from the Blu-ray release?
Paradox is out in 2 weeks.
Oh, the Hyper Battle thing, or whatever.
And then,
Tricks,
which is tying into another ending, and then True Ending, and then another ending is March. It starts.
I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for the True Ending Blu-ray release, and that's going to be that's too far away.
Yep.
I was going to say, Matt, if you do end up in a lull where you have time and you want some Rider, I'm a little biased, maybe due to some emotional things at the time, but I really, really liked Drive by the end. When it gets going, it's one of the shows that leans into its cast. And by the end, you are, really attached to those characters.
Yeah, you say that. And the crossover movie where you had, obviously, spoilers, you found out that the lead in that went on. He's become like a proper policeman now. He's got a family on the way. That made me go, I really didn't mind the lead in Drive. Even if the show turned out to be, you're going nowhere. The lead I never had a problem with, and it made me want to go back to that. So you're right there. But with me, though, I can't just pick up where I left off. I have to watch it right from the beginning. Because I did
Yeah. I'd say barrel in to Drive, and maybe even maybe speed a little bit through the opening episodes. It's once you get Mock showing up, and once you get into some of the backstory of the Roidmudes, that show starts to also invite you into the cast of the Roidmude main bad guys. And it's very, I felt very suddenly starts to accelerate with what it's doing. That was a car joke. Because cars accelerate.
You know, I was letting the whole go in there at speed, rush through. I was letting that go.
Yeah, you're shifting into another gear, so
Stop
I could
that.
change lanes. And in this podcast about video games, talk about Drive a whole lot.
Oh dear. Well, Matt, do you have a topic you want to take us onto?
I do have a topic I want to take us up to. You're talking about first impressions, and this is a nice segue into that. From the very beginning of the show, from episode 1 onwards, I was saying on social media, and Mikey picked up on a lot because he watched the show, The Dirty Scoundrel, and he knew what was happening. I said, isn't anyone even remotely concerned about the fact Emu seems to have multiple personality disorder? And I ultimately was proved right.
Sort of. I don't know, because it's still him.
Are we gonna? I'm gonna say he's like it's not literal the way that a lot of shows will do it literally, but it is still. There were two two active minds.
There's elements
I would
there of it.
Yeah,
but,
I don't want to technicality that into not being wrong, right? Because I think it's right.
Yeah, because it's. I mean, literally, it is because there was at one point 2 people in there.
Yeah, it wasn't as literal as like there's Emu A and Emu B. It's like it was more of a soft line.
I mean, it's not like Imagine kind of stuff.
Yeah.
With that being said, I do think certain plot points was moved around just before shooting, and I think certain riders got changed around to fit certain things. I still think that Genom was originally meant to be Parado because of the original colour scheme of his costume as opposed to the colour scheme of the rider. Story plot points between him being like the secondary player between him and Emu, which means hence Genom had to be like another X-Aid in a different colour scheme. And then you also had the Mighty Brothers X as well, which did retain that. I think that reveal was meant to happen much earlier in the story, and I'm kind of happy it got moved further back, because if they went with that, I think the show would have petered out, which is always my main fear in the Kamen Rider show. But I do think the intent was always there.
I think you're right. Because the Pac-Man movie, which takes place more early in the show than I think a lot of people remember, because, a lot of us were waiting for the DVD to come out. Like, the Pac-Man movie was pretty early in the show, and I got to watch it in order with the series, thank goodness. Because in the Pac-Man film, it's the first time they hint that an actual entity came out of, like, child Emu when he was getting the surgery done to him. And seeing that in context in proper order with the series, I was like, oh man, they foreshadowed this ages before they started to go into that storyline. Like, that made me really happy.
Well, they reused the same scene as well. Like, I checked. It's actually what they did in the Pac-Man movie. They cut the scene off just before Parado fully, or Parad, whatever you want to call him, he fully materializes. So they didn't, like, they had that stuff filmed, which I find interesting.
It goes further in. I think I might be completely wrong, but in my own little headcanon, I like to think that even the name Emu in itself is a pun on the word emulation. Because
why didn't I think of that?
when you think about it, he is an emulation of his own personality, Ingram. He switches from the Prado personality to the Emu. When he's Emu, that's him, but when he's like Genius Gamer M, he's emulating Parado. So, hence the play on the name, Emu, emulation, emulator.
Also,
I could see that.
Can I just say how frustrating it was whenever, like, they'd go, M, and you're just like, what? I can't hear the difference. Which one are you talking about?
Well, whose fault is that for not being born in Japan, Mikey?
I'm sorry, I tried. Oh dear, but I don't know. I like that. I like that idea. But I like you were saying, like, the foreshadowing there. It made me think of O's, actually, when you said that. And, like, writer shows do change ideas as they evolve. Oh, Jesus. Kaito, I couldn't remember his name there for a second. Kaito was never supposed to get an upgrade form. And then he got so popular in Japan, they decided to, because of the gimmick of the rider suits, they decided to give him lemon energy. But O's, the first O's movie, they have a dinosaur greed. They have Giru or Giru.
Oh, in the Nobu-chan thing.
Yeah, and like there's a hand, and all the greed are talking like they know him, and it's just like, oh, and that clearly got shifted around by the time they hit the actual like reveal in the show, because Giru don't exist, and none of the greed have any idea where that metal came from.
I think I heard something. The problem with hearing things about Rider production is that literally at least half the time it's something someone made up that a bunch of people started repeating. But I heard something about the fact that because that movie was in production when the show actually started, that the show Bible wasn't ready when they were making the Nobu thing. I hate the Nobu story.
Oh,
I haven't
terrible.
watched it in years. I really didn't like it. But I believe that was a byproduct of working with I guess pre-completed O's material. Thank goodness that didn't seem to happen with the Pac-Man movie, which was in the same position. The only thing the Pac-Man movie got is, like, I think the actor who played Emu he grew into that role amazingly. By the end, like, that dude was owning the screen. In the opening month or two, though, he wasn't, and that's when they filmed the Pac-Man movie, and he is the weak link of the Pac-Man movie, performance-wise.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone else is so into it, and then you get Emu, who's just like, I'm just still talking kind of like this. I'm not quite sure where I'm still kind of a young Japanese boy.
Who's at university at the same time doing Buddhist studies.
Really?
Yes, he was in full-time university at the same time.
Holy crap. Because I mean, all that said, like, you watch his performance in the Pac-Man film, and then you fast forward even just to, like, the end of the first major story arc in the mid-20s of the episodes, almost looks like a different actor.
Well, I always thought that, like, even his delivery is just so different. Like, when he does the personality switch, he puts this weird emphasis on early on, and afterwards his voice becomes much deeper whenever he's inside game.
Well, you know why, don't you? Because by then they all know what he's supposed to be. Well, I'm going to say again, emulating. At this point, he's sort of like, okay, that's the actor playing Parado. That's how he's performing it. I'm going to perform it like him. I'm going to put aspects of him into my performance.
Yeah, like it was just a more like he had more time to put his whole thing together to get used to how the other actor is doing his bit. And it's just a bummer because sometimes, like, I want to just show people the Pac-Man movie because it's also a Sakamoto film, which means it's fun to watch.
Yep.
But then I keep having to tell them, like, by the way, this X8 show is actually really good. You just, like the main actor just really, this was like his first day. They threw him onto the set the first day, so give him a break.
Yeah.
Yes,
he's being outdone by voice recorded clips of a guy who couldn't make it to the set, but
Yeah, and Emu has, I gotta throw it out there, he has one of the most like sometimes when you get a young Rider actor doing sometimes it's really like you just want to tell him to stop, and he does one of those in that Dr. Pac-Man movie, just a real like and it's like, just, you gotta cut that out, buddy.
Oh god. Oh dear. But yeah, it was interesting. Anything else you want to add to that one, Matt?
No, that was my main thing with that. I mean, I've got plenty to say about Dan Carota, but I think you two do too.
I followed his actor on Twitter. I don't usually do that with Toku actors.
I might follow him in real life.
Oh, I did too. Do you know that guy's an actual qualified pharmacist? My God.
Yes, and he's friggin' Mensa as well?
Really?
And he speaks fluent English.
And he's nuts in real life.
And he speaks fluent English, and I believe another couple Romance languages fluently. Like
everything I've heard about him, like, everyone seemed to love him on set, but it's just like, oh no, he's actually nuts. Like, he's proper crazy in real life. He's just lovely.
Well, like that, every time he's at one of these events, like that fan event where they showed the trailer for the upcoming Heisei movie.
Yeah.
He's like in character the whole time, even though he's not talking. Like, when he's walking around, he's just doing friggin' Dan Carotto poses. I'm like, this guy's the best.
Yeah, like, I guarantee a lot of the movements you see in the background with him, especially in the later half of the show, those weren't scripted. There's one in the last episode, and he's just like rocking backwards and going forward and going like, "Oh my god, oh my god."
he actually plays two characters. There's the original version of him, which is Dan Carotto, who is obviously the Lex Luthor of the video game world, who's quite plainly meant to be like, I'm going to end up being Kamen Rider Kronos, or whatever the original intention for that guy was. Then they go, no, we're going to turn it up to 11, and the reason we're going to do that, we're going to kill that character off, and then we're going to bring his Bugster duplicate in, and there you have Shin... was it Kuroto Karato Dan?
First it's Shin Dan Kuroto because he's new, but then it's Dan Kuroto Shin because he's God.
Yep.
And that's where something beautiful just comes into existence.
It's a great choice to make for a character to, in a Toku series especially. You have a character come back to life and react the way an actual person would, which is like, hey, maybe I'm deathless now. What if I just go nuts?
Am I amazing? I think I'm amazing. But anyway, like there's a whole thing to dedicate to him. Like I'm saving that one. But like if we're done with that one, I want to bring up a topic, and that's you were talking earlier on about the show really leaning into it, Chris.
Yes.
I want to talk about the audio-visual style, mostly because I kind of predicted that would stop around episode 10.
Me too. If you were going to ask me for a topic, that would have been the next one. Because can you believe the show friggin' just, it went for it the whole time. And I got the soundtrack that they finally released, the 3-disc soundtrack.
So
and if you listen to that soundtrack, it's probably one of the best Rider soundtracks in years as an entire soundtrack. Whereas usually Rider soundtracks are like, there are 12 really good tracks. I remember these from the good parts of the show. And then that's about it. The Exade soundtrack, it has its little block of 6, like the dumbass songs they play when people are doing like physical comedy.
Yeah.
But the rest of that soundtrack is a love letter visually the whole show is as well, but the soundtrack really puts the cherry on this. It is a love letter to some of the most core, timeless elements of video games as a medium. It grabs onto 3 very specific types of music. You have very Super Mario style music, very Rockman, Mega Man style music, and also very specifically Chrono Trigger-esque, Final Fantasy-esque music. And those are 3 real loud subsets of musical themes in that soundtrack. And it's like, for them to lean into also 3 of probably the most core video game music types you ever could lean into, and to use them across to get across either the progression into Kamen Rider Chronicle or just the leveling up of the characters. Like if you listen to the characters' personal themes, level 1 through even just level 5, it's like you're hearing the Nintendo version, the Super Nintendo version, the Genesis 32X version, the PlayStation. Like it's such a goddamn good soundtrack that is part of the identity of that show so hugely. Anyway, I've had that rant in my mind for a while. I had to spit that one out there, but. Please listen to the soundtrack if you like the show and you haven't already. It's such a great, like, you feel like the show is back listening to that soundtrack.
No, it's like,
and you don't feel it's really there until it's gone.
Yeah.
And you miss it.
Because it was, the soundtrack was very big on leitmotif, giving each character a personal kind of theme, where Rider shows sometimes do that for some of the cast, and then they'll try to for some of the 3rd and 4th Riders, but they kind of give up. Like, there's such leitmotif throughout. It's a really good soundtrack. And yeah, the soundtrack doesn't even overpower you during the show. It's after the fact. It is the soundtrack to the scenes you watched, not the cool music where stuff happened to the music.
Yeah.
While you talk about love letters, I feel that this whole show's kind of a love letter towards things like Kamen Rider Yuki and Kamen Rider Blade. As an aside to that, if you're going to watch any of the side material to Exade, if you haven't seen Kamen Rider Blade, do not watch Go Rider, because although Go Rider is great, it's also a nice bit of, not so much payoff, but a nice check-in with what certain characters are like, and it will spoil Blade for you.
Well, it spoils about 5 shows.
Can we do a quick bit about, because I really want to splurge some love on I thought we were done trying to show love to Blade, and it never turned out right. And then Exade, it turns out Exade also did love letters to Blade and Ryuki well, when so many times, like,
remember the Decade one?
Back for,
and
friggin'.
he was just like, he showed up in those stupid sunglasses. Why was he wearing the sunglasses?
Like, that wasn't my Kenzaki, that was some other Dimension Kenzaki, whereas in Exade, like, okay, we've given a ton of warning here. So, like, I'm not gonna, like, straight up lay it all out, but, like, if you haven't watched Blade, like, I'm about to say something here. When I saw that hand reach in, and I didn't know who it was, but then I saw that shade of green start to affect the door lock on the CR office, I was like, no, because that was friggin' Joker green.
Yep.
And then to use the kind of over-specific rules of the Blade world as the climax and clincher of the Go Rider story, I was like, whoever wrote this loved the end of Blade the way I did, and my God, I'm so happy, like, that you've made me. Now I can rest for another decade knowing that, like, we've touched on it. The characters I hope are still around. They are still around. They're still out there in the world, and you're not seeing them because of the reasons you wouldn't.
Yep.
But we had him pop in. It was so good.
Oh man, so I didn't see it coming as well. I have to say, like,
no, who would have seen it coming? That they would have actually known Blade well enough, because they failed so many times in past.
Yeah, and Blade, like, as far as I understand, was never a hugely popular show in Japan either. Like, I know it was more popular in, like, Korea, but it didn't do as well. But it was just, whenever they've gone to it, whether it's in the novels or whatever, it's just like, well, we read the script, but we didn't get the tone. Like, the novel, I was just like, Kenzaki's trying to kill himself. What?
It's like, that's... And it's like, it's been several hundred years, and I'm like, well, I don't care anymore. Like, I want to see...
So, at 700, so you're saying at this point, our hero doesn't care if the world ends?
I don't want to follow this guy for a whole book. If he's in that state, like, that's just depressing.
That's not my dude. My dude, don't do that.
Your dude's not the granddad from South Park begging Billy to kill him.
Yes. Like,
no,
look, you tell me a character's immortal, absolutely, there's a story where they get tired of their immortality. I don't really want to hear that story about Kenzaki, though.
No, because he's awesome.
Like, the crux of the end of that series is the hope that he's gone on to still do something, despite what he's become. And so to make the next story be like, what if a few centuries later he wants to die? It's like, well, that's like telling me, like, imagine if Sesame Street actually got canceled. And then they came back 50 years later, but then, like, they're like, what if Big Bird's finally tired of it all and he wants to die? It's like, well, I don't want to hear that story, really. I'm sure it's avant-garde, but I wasn't that interested in that. Like, there's other places I go for that, for the darkness.
Yeah, but, like, in terms of writer references, the side material in Exade was, like, someone on the staff gave a big crap. Like,
the last time that was done was Kamen Rider Double, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. You get kind of the same vibe from Build, actually, I'll say. Like, there's someone there who cares. But, yeah, like, slightly to bring it back to the visual side of things, just because I have a whole thing about Go Rider. Actually, I have a whole thing about the side material in general, mostly because it broke me a bit. But, the game aspect of things, I can't believe they kept the great perfect thing going and the hit.
Yeah, well, and not just that, but the hits were sometimes so subtle you could miss them, but you knew they were there. Yeah. Like, to make them that integral to the action scenes is a big part of the thing. I'll go into it a bit here. The fact that this show so genuinely and wholesomely loved video games like that, where I was really expecting just a cynical, we're going to throw in some Namco properties, we're going to maybe try to sell an Exade video game through this thing. We're gonna like, I thought the approach to video games would be the dudes in the suits who know the kids love video games approach. But there was this genuine adoration to the very core baseline of video games, the primitive, like, part of video games. Not even as you know, finessed as what video games can be now, but, like, just the very basic ideas of, like, let's smash some blocks, let's get some power-ups, here's a shooter and an RPG and a platformer, here's a racing guy, and and here's life bars, here's the Famicom buttons. It was just so utterly wholesome and eager in its love of video games that a siren is driving by my window right now, because they're like, yeah, you're right,
just one
I agree.
Show. That's all I'm asking.
I heard a car go by really fast and someone going, ah! So I think someone might have been bumped on their bike or something like that.
Oh, God.
That's for you, Andy. But yeah, the genuine, wholesome, like, I was going to say adoration, but I think that might even be wrong. Just the fact that whoever worked on the show on a visual level loved video games. To do, like, the blippy hit noises, the chiptune soundtrack, the effects, the fact that they had him blow in the cartridge, but they didn't do it constantly.
Yeah.
They did it once or twice because they knew it was a cool thing. The cynical version would have been his trademark move, and now we've released a Gashat with like a little thing where you blow in it and it makes a noise, and it's a special thing bundled with a DVD. It's like they had the cartridge blow in there because they're like, in episode 1 they want you to know that they get it. It was beautiful the way they lead into that stuff, and like the rhythm game side steps they would take, the fact that they used levels, they broke levels, they used like hacking the game.
Yep.
The
end of the game is basically someone's hacked everyone.
Well,
except Snipe.
The end of the show having the bit where, because I mean, I would not defend this to the point of saying you're wrong if you didn't like this part, because it certainly got silly. The fact that the last boss kept coming back with a new form for like a month and a half, like 6 episodes of them beating the last boss, and he has another form, was such a video game thing.
Well, he even says it.
But he does, and that's what I was like, alright, you guys you took a risk here. You did this thing that absolutely was off-putting for a lot of people I know, and for completely valid reasons, but like, it is so thematically perfect.
I liked the monster that kept on charging up to this final attack that he never got to do, because then another character then did it perfectly instead. Yeah. But even right down to Shin Kurato's debut, when was it Asuma Papapapapaparo discovered him as a bugster, and then he became like corrupted data. Even that, it's kind of reminiscent of the alleged glitched Pokemon from the original Pokemon game.
Yeah, the Ghost in the Machine, yeah.
Well, like, it's the fact that he came back and he said, "Oh yeah, I'm using an alpha build."
Yeah.
It's just like, what?
These prototype builds, they had him, the guy making the games, get angry about bootlegs.
Yeah.
Like, there was, I think some of this was unintentional. There were some sometimes chilling parallels to the more soulless side of the current video game industry.
Well, like, the end of it was basically the creator versus the company.
That was really Masamune Dan's whole shtick. I mean, if I feel that you're not profitable to my needs, I will make you out of print. I will make sure that you are sellable.
He was EA the whole time.
I kept wishing in a way that whoever wrote this was more in tune with Western gaming stuff, just to have some real weird, like, some friggin' EA, like have a THQ in there somewhere. Just have like
microtransaction. Like, there was just a microtransaction effect for the Ultimate Form. You had to pay something every time you used it.
Have Reggie Fils-Aimé show up at some point with like some Nintendo thing. Like, I don't know.
Do you know what broke me? When it was like, yeah, I've saved our game. Yeah, I've saved the game. We're just like, of course you have. Of course, because that's what's happening here. We've gone back to an earlier save. We're save scumming. Yeah. We're save scumming our way.
The fact that they did that and then everyone like knew what happened, but they're like, but I don't have my stuff anymore.
Oh man. Oh god, the game's reset. I've gotten my lives back. The game's
like
reset.
A lot of that stuff, if you look at it narratively outside, like especially if you don't like video games, like I said, you could sort of dissect that stuff as like that's maybe stretching for time. That's taking a real Deus Ex Machina, like literal Deus Ex Machina route out of getting your plot to where you want it. But it was all so like I said, so wholesomely and eagerly thematic the way they did it. Like, I just can't look at it cynically. It all just felt like
it was intentional. That's the thing. Like, it's not they looked at the tropes of the genres and the medium and just said, well, if we're going to do this, we're going to go all out. Like, it wasn't the case of, it never felt to me like someone was sitting there going like, we've got a script and it's running 5 minutes short.
Oh yeah, like the lack of backseat boardroom driving on this series, I think, was really great. Like, certainly it was there. Like, I absolutely will say yes, there was some boardroom decisions sitting in this series. But I felt like this series was also given an astonishing amount of freedom for a Toei Kamen Rider toy commercial. The fact that they blew through the gamer add-on armors, the level like 1 through 5 stuff, to all the toys basically.
9 episodes?
Yeah, they blasted through that. They gave Dragon Knight Hunter Z like a 2-episode arc, and then just friggin' erased that lousy thing. Yep. I don't like Dragon Knight Hunter Z very much.
Oh no, it's
on a lot of levels. The fact that
levels.
that thing got wiped as soon as they moved into the really good stuff and they brought Dangerous Zombie in. I was like, all right.
Yeah, but then it hangs around because they need to give the guy an upgrade because of how they're using the 50 forms.
Yeah.
It's a leopard skin as well in the Brave OVA.
That was weird.
So that one I like more because that looks like a ridiculous stage show kit bash.
Yeah.
But like in a kind of like you can just see they had leopard print tape and just taped up a
Yep.
Dragon Knight Hunter's Ed suit, but like something about that I kind of like. I
Yeah.
don't know why.
It's cheesy, that's why. But,
I just accepted that upgrade for what it was, a plot device to need to pull our 4 heroes together because, you
It
know,
worked,
otherwise...
Yeah.
It totally did.
I love the story side of it, like the co-op thing and everything.
No.
It's just like visually, I kind of hate it.
Oh, it's terrible.
And also because it's such an easy retool, I feel like it put a very early bullet in the kneecap of the SH Figart side of Kamen Rider Exade. And also, saying all this, having collected so much Soto Exade, I also have like 4 copies of it. Because you get Dragon Knight Hunter Z everywhere. I'm laden with Dragon Knight Hunter Zs. It's like I'm living in a cavern of my own like masochistic, stupid dragon toy hell. It's wonderful.
it is. I think it's the first time we've had a rider designed after a dragon that my response is, can it go away? Needs to go away.
I mean, Ryuki was kind of dragon, right?
Yeah, but I don't
It was
want
dragon-esque.
to go away. I
Yeah.
like that design. It's just like
Yeah. So we've had a dragon before.
we've had we've had 6 or 7 now.
We've had a night before.
There's another one coming.
Yeah.
So,
Dragon Knight Hunter Z can just go sit in the corner like the Green Hornet is.
Yeah.
Like, hey newbie, go chill out over there.
Chris, take us on to another topic.
Yeah, I will go into one of the ones that I know I can be a bit more negative on, because I am love bombing the show. And I also, the thing is, this is a character that I also really liked. So I have a lot of back and forth on this one. Poppy Pipo Papo.
Poppy, pop.
So the first thing I'll say is, in the Pac-Man movie, she has this effect, and maybe I get why this would have been hell, post-production wise, but I loved in the Pac-Man movie, when she was in her video game form, they also added this effect to her voice. This kind of like very kind of bit crush effect that made her sound like a digital being. And I was like, oh, if this was there throughout the series, it would have been such a nice touch. But she's a character who I think like really, as a character who was like designed for especially the Westerners to just despise. She was, everyone basically Western Japan. She was, I thought, a really solid addition to the cast with a really cool, and really great number of contributions to the story. Right down to, getting to be a female writer who doesn't so she mostly was a female writer who was pretty cool. They didn't use her very much because that's where I think the boardroom stepped in at one point and were like, hey, wait a second. That you have this female writer and you haven't killed her off, so she can't transform that much, okay?
And someone went, but we made an entirely original suit. No.
Yeah, well, that's just because she's evil when she's not evil anymore. She's part of the team. Well, you got to depower her, all right? So there was still, Kamen Rider still sucks at female characters to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But Poppy was real darn. She was a real strong one for a while. Really, her downest moment is the excruciatingly drawn out death scene for her. And I got to preface this with a bunch of things. This is a bit of an essay I'm doing here, but I'll be quick. I'm fine with characters coming back from the dead. Ever since Double, it's been proven to me that because I was super cool with the end of Double, the final episode. So I'm super cool with Parado coming back from the dead even, because of the way that visually and storytellingly they sort of explained how that all worked. I felt pretty good with it. Poppy was a twofold thing. Her death scene was way too long when all she needed to do was have her final words with Dan Kuroto. Those were the important ones, because that was her breaking through to him and causing his final character evolution in a way, a very minor one. But it was also this very small throwback to the fact that she is a digital archive of his mom, basically.
She is his mom-daughter.
Yeah, she is his mom-daughter. And so that part of her death scene was fine. It's the part where she spends almost 8 minutes having this very long, hey, you be good to her, hey, you be good to him kind of thing.
And that felt weird just because they know this. Poppy's never been one to hide her feelings on these things.
And as much as I do like the idea of, I always like the hexadecimal death, as I call it, where the digital being, they propagate themselves into non-existence and in doing so cure something. I like the idea of it, but also she had a rider form. And how cool would it have been if her and Paradox, like, double rider kicked Gamedius to nullify him, right? Like, there's a way to do her death a bit stronger, because it felt like her death was also almost constructed to de-rider her in a way. And then the part I didn't like about her coming back, and this is very petty, but it's very specific, the fact that she came back off screen, and then they more emotionally had Parado come back the same way. Like, they kind of just, they crumpled her up, threw her in the garbage, and then pulled her back out of the garbage, uncrumpled her, and just slapped her back on the table. Like, okay, she's back. Good work, everyone. Like, it was kind of like with Marika and Gaim, where she was great up until the part where they killed her in a stupid and, again, de-riderizing way. Almost fridging her for the sake of Kaito in this, like, this inexplicable way to end her story. So with Poppy was so strong for what should have been a very irritating character, and certainly she got annoying now and then. But I really liked her, and I liked a lot about her. And then at the very last minute, it's almost like the boardroom sat down and went like, listen, we here at Kamen Rider Incorporated do a thing with female characters. We have a certain number of ways we deal with them, and you're going to pick one right now. So Poppy is, like, I think a really fun character to talk about, because she was so almost a breakthrough female rider character in a lot of ways. And given the fact that she was also presented as like there's a lot about her that felt like, by the way, this actor can sing a whole lot, and we'd love it if she got a music career based off of this somehow. Like, a lot was working against her outside of the fourth wall. And so I really like Poppy, and hate the way that they played the end of her story, when the exact same story that happened to Parado felt completely different and better to me.
What do you think, Matt?
When
That's my
you
estimate, by the way.
Oh, no. I absolutely agree with you. I'd think there'd be something similar with Nico Cyber as well, because
Yeah, well, that's another
the
topic.
closest she ever got to really being like a Kamen Rider was the Ride Player. And, oh man, if only there would be some kind of an upgrade that she was given to be like a proper Kamen Rider. And even, there's one thing about Brave I totally detested, and that was his initial level up, where it was all about the beats, the rhythms, which is fine. I totally get how they worked it in for the character, because he knows rhythm because of, chest compression, CPR. But the actual gimmick didn't suit him. That would have suited her down to the freaking ground. Even the look of... but
Absolutely.
Her character progression, as in the underlining part of her, and Poppy for that matter, I liked the wink wink nudge nudge to what could possibly happen with her character down the road, where she turned out that, you're actually damn good at this whole nursing thing. Why don't you become a nurse? Says Poppy to her. No, I can't possibly be a nurse. And then you can see she's totally thinking about it.
And you find out she's filthy rich.
Yeah. Well, she is, because she's a Twitch streamer.
And how, again, I almost wish that the writers were more in tune with Western gaming culture, because there's a whole streaming aspect with her that I think could have been played up just a touch more. And it would have also filled in some of her gaps that I think Nico Saiba was meddled with enormously in a boardroom setting, because she was introduced in a manner that was not befitting what, she didn't, or how should I put this? The way she ended up did not befit the way she was introduced.
Yeah. She put in the intro along with the riders. It felt she could have easily have become a rider.
Well, I mean, it's almost like they set up an idea at the end that someone said, but no, she can't do it. Who could do this? Well, we've got a guy. Okay.
The part that made me get pretty salty. The part where Taiga gets to be Cronus, and I'm like, this feels like someone at Toei just stepped right on the writer's foot and said, you can't let that girl be the cool suit. And
she
also
has boobs.
Story,
she can't wear the suit. Basically,
her whole story, she eventually, it was sweet, and her actor did wonders with what she had to work with. But she very much got turned into a prop in a sense by the end of the show, and that where I think Poppy came out mostly on top, where her main bad part happened with the very end. Nico Saiba got dismantled very slowly over the course of the show.
She
Behind the
started becoming Tiger's sidekick, really, more or less, which it was endearing. The acting really was the strongest part of it, but when you put it down on paper, there wasn't really much for her.
If she was able to also suit up and fight alongside him more often, where they kind of had that happen, but I very much felt it as her rider appearances were getting dialed back, pulled back, reasons were given for her to not take part, and I was kind of like, this just sort of feels scummy in a way. Like, it's not ruining the show for me. It's just like this. It sucks that, guess what? I love a rider show, but my bummer with it is how it handled the female characters.
Yeah.
It's mine as well. And I was going to bring up the Nico Cyber bit when you were talking about the Poppy bit. Because of that very reason, I felt there was a lot more they could have done with her, but it seemed that she was being saddled with things which always put a kind of a crutch to her, because you've got to focus on at this point, 6 male leads, because if you throw Dan and Paradome to it, it's 6, not 4. I just felt really, really bad for her.
And that's where I also, like, if someone was going to say, well, they already had 6 male leads, I'm like, it's like, yeah, buddy, they had 6 leads. They crossed the line a long time ago of there being too many main characters.
Yeah.
When you have 6 male leads, you have room for 8 leads
that
total.
they kept focus on. That's the thing. It's not like they did what a lot of writer shows do with multiple leads or multiple writers. They're just like, well, you have your main writer, you have your secondary writer, and you have your very clear background guys. And they'll be there, and they'll be prominent, but they're not going to do much. This show has a very unique approach to the thing of secondary writer, in which case, they're in the show, whatever about the marketing, because there's a very clear marketed secondary writer. In the show, there is no primary secondary writer.
Yeah,
they're all the writers. So Nico and Poppy, Poppy, I think, came out of it much stronger than Nico, but there was room in that show for Nico, and there was even a very clear setup of, this is what you're building to. This is what you can do. And then, and the thing is, I like Tyga's bit in it. I like his stuff.
I like
strong.
Tyga as Cronus as well. Like, that was a great play for him. Like, the thing about talking about Nico especially, because I did this in the Henshin Justice podcast to a degree, it's real easy to come off like, oh, they just failed. And it's like, no, and her actor certainly did not do anything wrong. There's a lot of positive about it, but it's like, I feel like I really always want to focus on this when Ryder gets so good that the inability to deliver on excitement on female characters by the end, for that to still be the ball and chain. It's like, I harp on it because if they fix it, some of these Rider shows that I already love to the point of like, they are life defining for me for the year they came out. They would be even more so if this weakness was not there.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of people would say like, oh, Wizard did the same thing, and I would just like, no, very different. Because Wizard had a female character who shows up towards the end, gets almost no development, and doesn't even get anything interesting to do. She's not even, and then they take her plot point away. She's there, she's part of the main cast. The writer is pushing her. I could feel the writer pushing her, and you could just feel someone putting a hand in front. No, Nico we put her in the credits. You be happy with that.
Yeah, it's just a shame, and I don't want to harp on it like super hard much longer myself, but like it's Gaim did this as well, and lots of people love Gaim. I love Gaim. A lot of people can agree that Mai very quickly got turned into a literal object in the final like hours of Gaim.
Like she was a good mystery that once the mystery was solved, was just like, and now you're literally just a trophy.
And I've never heard a good defense of the way they killed off Marika in Gaim. Like that was a literal waste of a character.
With a bomb. She got killed by a bomb.
In her rider armor.
In an energy rider armor in a show where the energy riders are stupidly powerful.
Yeah. But by the way,
and I'm just gonna follow this up. We've seen a rider be shot by a bomb before in their base form. And then,
I think we've seen riders get blown up without having transformed.
Yeah, and then transform while blowing up, and it's just like, nah! It's just like
In the same show where Zenigata gets blown up, has half his armor ripped apart from him, and drowned simultaneously, and yet still survived.
Well, he was in a coma.
Yeah, he's a coma, sir.
I wanted to throw in a thing. I didn't check up on this, but it's a fun note, and it's a more positive thing to end on the topic of the female characters. Not to end it, but like just for myself. Apparently, you know how Kamen Rider, they always have those stats they release in the magazines, which get more and more ridiculous?
Yeah.
So the nature of Kamen Rider Poppy,
God.
she's like Muteki powerful in her stats, because she is like a fully formed bugster with, a bug visor and everything. So she's actually ridiculously powerful as
She's
Kamen
stronger
Rider
than
Poppy.
Kiwami.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's stronger. That's like, according to her stats, she's stronger than Kiwami, and I'm just like, oh god.
And you know what? I want that to stay canon because it's perfect. It's like because I was rewatching her scene when she first transforms, and she's also like doing the penalty thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, she's
by the way,
level X, as far as I know.
there's a track on the soundtrack called Peepo Peppo Penalty,
Oh my god.
which is the music from that scene. It sounds like a really good Undertale track, like this kind of like menacing, pumping kind of 16-bit dance music, but it sounds like something really frightening is happening.
Yeah.
It's really good, and I'm almost bummed out how quickly that part of her got closed up, because like that fight scene where she is like kind of menacing, but then her fight style is super silly,
Yep.
but she's got like the power of a god, is a really cool idea, I think.
But like, I remember reading it just like she's level X, and I'm just like, holy crap. But then and then of course what happened is, the thing of, well, the guys who are writing the stats, they're not writing the show.
Yeah.
I know. Cause the show don't play your game stats book. Don't.
And
play
I
your
admit,
game.
like, those stats they made me a little excited about the idea that her and Paradox are getting their own movie, but also the poster image for that movie immediately is kneecapping and putting a glass ceiling on a lot of my hopes, because I'm sure it'll be good, but also she's clinging onto him like friggin' Princess Leia.
I think she's got a leg in the air, does she? I don't remember.
Maybe she is holding onto him super damsel style.
She's gonna get
And
her
I'm
ass
like,
kicked.
Yeah, you know what? I hope I'm wrong. I don't want that to be right, but I'm really prepared for it to be like this. Maybe this is more of the Paradox movie.
Yeah, but just to add a little bit more positivity to the whole thing, we were talking about Nico being a writer. The information on the stage show has been released. It started airing. I don't know if we'll get a subbed version like we did with the Gaim one. But they introduced new writers and stuff in it, because that's what they do. Like Game Deuce is in it, and he's Game Deuce Muteki, which means he's a silver version of Muteki. But Taiga's in it, or like Taiga's voice is in it as the Kronos. He upgrades to Kronos permanently. And
cool.
Nico is Kamen Rider Snipe Nico version.
Oh my god! They got to at least do a soda of that. That'd be so cool.
Yep. So I'd like, again, like, if you're not familiar, stage shows are like, whatever I'll argue about the TV shows being out of continuity, the TV and the movies being out of continuity, you couldn't place the stage shows if you tried.
No, they're just fun. Like
they're just wonderful little fun things.
I watched the Kamen Rider O's one. That was just pure panto.
Games was really good.
I never watched Games.
Really
I should,
good.
really.
Really good fight scene. Very good writing. Because it's Gaim, of course.
Did Gaims get actually subtitled? Because I haven't seen it myself.
Fully subtitled. It's out there. I have it on my hard drive.
Who did the subs?
I think it might have been TV Nihon. I'm not sure.
I'll go look for it. That sounds really cool. I was having to dig because I went to finally go watch the Gaim Gaidens, and did you know it's hard sometimes to find fan subs if you don't download them when they came out?
Yes, because torrents die.
Holy crap! That was really hard.
Like, what I'll do after this, I'll see if I can transfer them over at some point. So,
all right, Andy, edit that out, or actually don't. That way, more listeners will start asking Mikey to transfer stuff to them,
and I will start charging. Like those filthy bastard masters on the eBay. I had two different insults that merged into each other there.
Bastard masters. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Like, okay, like I was going to go into Poppy myself a little bit, but we've covered it all. She's great. Kind of gets fucked over at the end, but Matt, so take us on to another topic.
Before I do that, I just want to preface this entire conversation with it sounds like we are really like drumming out that as a real massive negative. It's only a niggle that we've basically overly vocalized. It's a niggle. We're just we're not angry. We're just disappointed.
I want to second that because, like I said, it's the reason why I hammer on it so much, and why I did eventually with Gaim as well, because the rest of the show was so damn solid, it's just very disappointing that one of the few problems was also, like, so, it's such a thing that Rider does. When, it's a bummer that, because usually Rider is, it's a series loosely, it's even a genre loosely. It's not cool that it has such a specific type of recurring problem in even its best shows.
Someone at Toei/Bandai has decided that these are boy toys and therefore must be marketed to boys.
Is he the guy who's cancelled all the Power Ranger toys?
Yeah, I think that's why it bugs me so much too, because it feels like such a friggin' old-thinking boys' toys Bandai boardroom decision, and and it meddles with the storytelling to that degree, and it's also such outdated thinking. It's a perfect cocktail of Chris irritation for me.
That we can be angry about, and justly so. The show, it's just a niggle.
Yeah.
It's an unfortunate side effect of what is going on in a much bigger scheme. But the show makers themselves, it's just a niggle.
No.
One thing that I really like, moving into a new topic, is the gradual relationship between Brave and Snipe, Tiger and Hiru. I loved how they were adversaries right at the beginning, and it wasn't even a case of, like, tropes. It wasn't particularly tropey. I liked the fact that, okay, there's still not an even kill, but there's that growing respect between the two of them, The pair of them, the two actors, really played it well. The plotting and the progression of it was played extremely well. And I liked the payoff at the end, where it was Hiru that saved Tiger's life. After overcoming, he could have easily went, screw you all, I'm getting my girlfriend back. He had to let her go to basically save Tiger and realize, I am a goddamn surgeon. I'm one of Japan's best surgeons. There's nothing I can't cut. And this is a guy who needs my help. And he overcame all of that, and it just happened to be Tiger. And at the end of that, I just loved that whole storyline, which wasn't like in your face. If anything, it was like a C plot, but it was done so subtly that, and yet you could twig it and you could see it and you could actually go, my God, I'm actually, I was really supporting that the whole way through. I loved it.
I'm so happy that they, for a secondary writer antagonism type of plot, that they really avoided a lot of obvious solutions and outcomes.
Yeah.
And going off what you were saying too, it felt like, and it goes off something you said earlier, it also felt like the actors were made aware of the whole thread of that plot early enough to work it into their performances quite well.
But everyone across the board on the X8 have said how much they love watching Ryuki growing up. What followed Ryuki? Freaking Fies. And the problem I've always had with Fies, which thankfully they didn't do in X8, Fies is a story about how no one freaking talks to each other and how they really wind each other up because they don't talk to each other, even though everyone owns a phone in that show. No one talks. It's all based on Chinese whispers. In X8, the reason why Tiger and Hiru overcome their adversaries, even though they've got every right to hate each other, the reason why that sort of like relationship of mutual respect built up so much is because they talk to each other and they find an even keel. And that I wanted to applaud because it was like, okay, I think the actors and the writers saw like mistakes made in previous Rider shows and go, right, let's turn this on its head. And I loved that.
Like every first image of Taiga, right down to his rider design, I was like, is this guy going to be the edgelord antagonist secondary rider who always hates everyone? And it's going to be like episode 40 when he finally comes around and it's going to be super phoned in, super fast, like he's going to 180 and turn into a friend of everyone, or he's just going to die. I think the Taiga side of that relationship, like, actually, no, I'm going to stop myself there. Both of them are caricature-wise completely the antagonist secondary rider who doesn't come around till the very end. So it is, like, just thinking about it now, they had two guys who in any other series alone would have never gotten along with just the main character. and they made this really like pleasant subplot out of the two of them. Is completely, it is applaudable. It is a testament to like getting what can make stuff really work in these ensemble shows.
Yeah. Also, like, very strong that one of the problems with the tropey approach is that you have the episode where both characters pause and have that realization moment. This was a lot subtler. There were episodes where your attention was drawn to it, but they were only when it was significant to the plot, like like Snipe getting his level 50 form. That was your attention was drawn to it there because, just a reminder, we've seen them working together. The grudge is still there. The episode 37, it would have been, where the operation has to happen. No, 38. And it's just like, again, we're looking at it because this is now plot relevant. And even then, it continues on with this awkwardness between the two of them. And it's just like, well, I gotta be respectful. Just like, this is weirding me out. This is weirding me out.
Yeah. As I said before, I mean, it's not a case of now we're best buddies. It's a case of we've gained some kind of mutual respect through our situation. You know,
and it's like the relationship at the end. Like, the same thing happens with Emma, whatever you want to call him. His relationship with both of them progresses along very similar natural progression, especially with Hero, where you don't have the "I accept you as a wonderful doctor" now. It's just like, no, he's still looking at this as an intern. He's still looking at this as someone who has a lot to learn, and I'm here to educate them. But I see him for what he brings to the table, that he has things that I don't have. And by the end of it, you have that where the reason you should be afraid of us is because we're the ultimate combination of doctors. I thought that was a very effective scene because it's just like the friendship and relationship that did evolve, incredibly natural. The only other time I can think of it done as well was actually Deno with Zeranos, because there is no point in Deno where it stops and goes, these two are now friends.
Yeah.
But at the end, there's no real doubt in your mind, you know?
I don't know if I maybe am forgetting a piece of dialogue, but I want to say that Taiga and Hiro also, there's never a moment where one of them says, I forgive you, to the other one.
No.
It's just that they move on, which is a really nice kind of life lesson, I think, to teach kids especially, is that, you know, it's not about a transgression against someone else. It's not that transgression has to be reversed for you two to move on. It's like sometimes you can just move on without having to directly forgive something. It'll hang there in the air. Things are definitely awkward between those two and probably will be for a good long time. But they found a way to move on without forcing the other one to, you know, like it felt more like they both admitted their fault in what they did and how they, not so much what they did, but how they reacted to it. And cause it's almost like it's slightly more realistic, because there is certainly like a sense of melodrama in years later going like, I forgive you for the death of my loved one. It's like that probably doesn't really happen in real life, you know? Like
No, but like, I'm not sure they have like an annual meeting or something.
Yeah. That and the whole, like, especially given the two characters were resurrected, the odd ability for that show to kind of give you respect for the value of life. In a way.
That's
like
basically a major subplot.
Well, yeah, they and the fact that they're like, you know, we have the data of all the victims in this box, and we have no idea if we'll ever be able to bring any of them back.
Oh, I love that so much.
And so it's like they didn't have a downer where it's like the box gets destroyed for the sake of the plot or something. They were just like, hey, you know, this is a sci-fi show. Maybe we can bugster them back to life. But also, for the sake of the end of the TV series, what if we also just take a moment to appreciate the value of life and to remember all the people who are now phantoms in this box, you know? Like, there's something cool about that.
That was like, I love the ending for Exade in terms, like, it's a little wacky at the start, but I just, those elements are just so good. But I'm gonna take us on to a topic now, I think. And, just because I think we really do have to cover him at some point, maybe talk about the main character, M. Very interesting. I often think that writer protagonists don't make a show. They make whether or not a show is above the norm. Because it is very common for writers to have fairly flat protagonists. Unfortunately, it's something that hurt Ghost a lot. For me, it hurt Wizard. Other people get a bit more out of him in the show. A lot of people get more out of him in movies, but
I love Movie Wizard.
Movie Wizard had learned a lot from his time in the show. But M's very interesting for me because very much he is the focus of the Doctor element of the plot. The video, I said like the major subplot of the Respect for Life. The Doctor thing was very interesting for me because it took over the plotting of the show, whereas the video games took over the style. And M is very much the focus of every bit of plot because in some way he's tied, in a way I've very rarely seen, to literally everything. Everything centers on him from the get-go in one way or another. And I think it's a testament, but by the end of it, I really want to see more of him because he's very interesting, mature, he's still fun, he's not gimmicky, just such a strong character, and he does all that while being bright pink. And having the goofiest upgrades.
And being he's like, how do I put this? He's also a kind of, just a very young and kind of goofy looking guy. Like he doesn't have like the kind of square jawed superhero look that like even Gentaro from Forza has in a way. Gentaro like carries himself with these really broad shoulders and this huge confidence. Like Emu comes off, he comes off the way I had kind of hoped Wizard would come off more so in the Modern Rider ensemble. Of kind of being maybe, I don't know the right word for it, and I even speak English, so it's embarrassing. But like I don't know, just, he doesn't have the superhero look, he has more of the support character look, who's also able to handle himself and carry, a show.
He's a blue chipper.
He's an everyday man.
He's an everyday man. I think the rider closest to him is probably Drive. Because you've got the Doctor and the policeman. They're two entirely different fields, but approached pretty much the same way.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it helped that the actor really came into the character by midway.
There are actors, like actors who have had as weak performances as he had at the start, do not often become as strong as he became by the end. Like, it was actually a very Kenzaki type thing.
Kenzaki.
Back to Blade. Yeah, good old, like, Kenzaki went from being, like, a meme generator in a very unflattering sense to being, to me at least, and to some people, a very beloved, rider protagonist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have to comment on the Muteki design, though. Because that was just like, we don't care.
Have a fight here?
It's amazing. No, I love it.
Okay.
I love it. And I love the fact that his rider kick, his hair goes nuts. But
I just like the fact that also, in a show that's homage and shown love to so much, I would actually argue, with no proof, whoever designed Muteki loved Gao Gaigar.
Oh my god, yes.
Gaigar. Yeah.
Yeah, like that was Guy's hyper form as a rider suit.
Yeah. Yeah. It even works the same.
Yeah.
It even, like, there's even a thing like his hair acts as a vent is one of the stats thing, and
right?
it's like that's from that's Guy.
That's straight up Gal Gaigar.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah, you add the name to Gal Gaigar,
yeah. But although I will say, I actually think Muteki's intro episode was one of the weaker ones.
I like the fight scene in it a lot.
Oh, I love that, especially the end of it with the kicks.
Oh, and also the part where they do the delay thing so well with that, like, it's kind of a corny action movie thing to do, but just they timed it and delivered it so well when he's like smacking around Cronus, and Cronus is like, you can't even, blah! He just gets like, it's not just that he got hit after the fact, it's that all three major fight sequences suddenly happened to him and he's getting like catapulted around through the air, just like, and his scream of pain very much had an also like, what the hell is going on kind of thing to it.
Yeah, also like, I talk about things that are referenced. There is no way in hell the guy didn't watch Fist of the North Star. And even like the next episode is just like, the game is already over.
Yeah.
Just like, you giant nerd.
It was like so eager, like I said before. Like so genuine and eager.
Yeah.
We want to talk about sayings. I like the fact that near the end of the show, everyone does their catchphrases. And when you really think about it, everyone's catchphrase makes an entire sentence. Like an entire paragraph from across the board.
That's something I love. That's just like, their henshin phrases are catchphrases.
Yeah, and their catchphrases
they have catchphrases.
And they're so it's very simple, it's very base, but it's like all their catchphrases also like said so much about every character as well.
Yeah, ending with Kuroto Dan and Emu's sayings, which you can always see a little bit of bite between it, because you've got Shin Kuroto Dan going, I'll end this game even if I use continues, and then you've got Emu at the end, might as well go, I'll finish this even without the continue. You know, which he says all the way through the series. But when you add Kuroto Dan at the start of that, it feels like there's a little bit of bite there, saying, I'll do this without continues, Mr. Continue Boy.
I have to admit, my favorite one is Super Co-op. Once that was introduced, I was just like, oh, I like that. And then suddenly, like, M's gesture suddenly becomes an incomplete move. That player 2 comes in and finishes the move with the hand to the side, turns into a palm slap, and it's just like, oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah, I want an entire mini-series with the further adventures of Parado and Emu.
That fight scene of the two of them was so good. Like, I was cool with it only being like a one-time thing, that like massive co-op play fight scene. I certainly hope that they touch on some more of that in another ending, but like, it's not just the two of them fighting side by side, but then Parado like splitting into the two base paradox forms.
Oh my god. Which
made me decide to have 2 copies of him in Soto, so I can have both forms chilling out. Like, and then, you know, ending on the fun Fist of the North Star, you know, delayed effect thing, but then, you know, explosion on the fist bump. I was so happy. I was gaping in happiness, because that's also something you don't always see on the TV side of Rider.
No.
Like, action scenes that's something actually that a lot of the first half of Ghost did for me, and a lot of Drive has some really good action scenes too, where it really pulls at you in a way where you usually only feel that when you see the movies.
Yeah, one of the best, I think one of the best resolutions of a character development isn't even in the main series, in Kamen Rider Double, where you finally have, like, Axel and, oh god, forgotten his name.
Akiko.
Yeah, they do the bro fist. They do the bashing the arms together.
Shotaro.
And I was like, yes, finally.
Yeah, when and Shotaro have that moment with the arm.
Yeah.
Again, very natural friendship in that as well.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, but anyone else got anything they want to say about M?
I would like to throw in that, like, I wanted to throw some support behind the idea that, like, absolutely, primary Rider characters tend to end up being the flat ones, because they're kind of the canvas everyone else is bouncing off of. And this show did a real good job of like you said, like, weaving him into all the plot lines. And I want to just give one more set of props to his actor, who, you know, I have kind of been smacking him around a little bit for his early performances. So I want to take a moment to gush about the way that he became a total superhero by the end of that show. He had the look in his eyes a lot of the time when he was basically like breaking Parado to make Parado come.
Oh my god!
Like his acting in those episodes was real good stuff, especially for, like, at least for Rider shows, of just, like, you know, he was still the character, but you could see like how much it hurt him to put on that act of mercilessness. And the way that he really got across that whole plot idea of, like, he is feeling everything Parado is feeling. And it's like that it hurts him to do this, but it's like, I have to, it was just such a good, and I think quickly forgotten part of his performance, given, you know, all the kooky stuff that happens right afterwards. So he's one of those, actors who I also just would love to see return, because he feels like a guy who would just sink his teeth back into the role the way some of the other, really good ones have, like, Shotaro and Shinnosuke from Drive. Where, like, whenever they show up again, you just feel like you're seeing the character a little bit older. And I bet the guy who played Emu, I'll throw out my quick apologies for always forgetting actor names. I think he could really end up doing that himself.
I think if he doesn't end up becoming like an anime voice actor as well, I will eat my hat that I'm not wearing at the moment, because the way he did, like, the multiple different henshins in a different style and emoting it was spot on. Probably one of the best vocal performances in a Rider I've heard in a while. I'm not even going.
Yeah. He was able to, like that should have been irritating, and maybe sometimes it crested on it, but his delivery made it work. Yeah. That's the other thing I wanted to throw out there. the show made me on day one a big fan of Maximum Mighty X.
Yep.
When there's so much working against that suit, and I was like, I'm not against this. Like, it's kind of cool, the idea they're just doing a Megazord suit basically as a rider upgrade. But like, how's this gonna work? And then the first time it shows up, it's like, oh, by the way, it's just a giant floating orb of armor, and then it's gonna eat him and transform with this triumphant Jam Project declaration. And I was like, if you ever need to sell a really dumb idea, they took Maximum Mighty X and they sold me 100% in that very first time he transformed into it. I was actually astounded how much I dug it. Cause I was like, this is the kind of thing that I would laugh about, but like, want to move on from. No. Every time he transformed into that thing and the suit eats him, all the limbs blow out and he lands. It's like, god damn. Like, that's some good stuff. That's some super robot stuff being sprinkled on this Rider show.
And also, like, can I just thank whoever then went after, just like, yeah, this is great. We need some good fight scenes, and this suit is very limited. The little Exade inside, it functions as its own form. It's basically just a speedier version. I thought that was brilliant.
Oh, it's such a good idea for him to just pop out.
Yeah, and it's like, we still want to have our dynamic forms. We still want to have, like, really, Sakamoto was on for an episode. We've got to have a good fight scene. And it's just like, do we do something else? Do we try to do it with the suit? No. Like, he can go into the suit, gain the upgrade, and come out, and just, he's got Maximum Mighty in the belt. We're good.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
Closest equivalent is if Mega Man controls one of the robots in Mega Man X.
Oh yeah, the ride armors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Chris, got something for us.
I kind of want to do it. Let's do it. Let's talk about the true evil. Let's talk about God. Let's talk about religion. Let's talk about my religion. Let's talk about Dan Kuroto,
the Beam Lord himself.
It's not a proper essay. I'm kind of spitballing this one, but like, dude shows up and you think, oh, this is going to be he's pretty obviously the bad guy. This is going to, episode 6. All right, he's already the bad guy. Well, this is going to, episode like 10, 11. They all know he's the bad guy. Okay. Well, the next 12 episodes are just going to be a story arc about him being one of the most Showa, cartoony, wonderful, lean into it villains in Rider history, especially post 2000. All right. But he's incredible during this. It's going to suck when he dies. I hope that he just dies though. I don't want him to suddenly turn good. Oh, he died. All right. They gave him his flowers. Guess that's it for it. Oh, he's back. Okay. Now he's not back as a villain or as a hero. He's back as a pretty decent cartoony anti-hero. And this dude is the backbone of this show.
Yep.
In my opinion, he is the backbone of the first half as the antagonist, and he is the backbone of making the second half move as far as plot devices, form upgrades. Like, everything that could be awkward about the toy commercial side of the second half is handled not only by his character, but by his actor's delivery of the character. Where everything that he's doing, if a character tried to play it more straight, would have been probably a little cringy, if not hard to take seriously. But this dude just rolled into it. And then the fact that they ended the series on a trailer for another ending, where they're like, just so you remember, we're gonna have him stand in a dark room on a turntable and just drop a trademark bwahaha at the end. It's like the show got it too. Like, I'm sure a lot of this was his actor and a lot of it was his input, but the show did not fight him whatsoever. And the idea that the epilogue V cinemas might lean even harder into it, the fact that you were getting God Maximum Mighty X.
Level 1 billion.
Really? Okay.
Level 1 billion.
All I knew about it when they put up the pre-order and they showed the katakana for the voice clips, you know the part where like the Mighty X has that bit where it's like zba-ba-ban and like all those like sound effect noises? His is going Kuroto Dan! And I'm like, between that and the mighty doctor's gash out, the kind of hidden noise in it where he's just like, I am God. Like, they are treating this so well and leaning it so hard, even in the toys. I'm almost like, did they win over one of the boardroom people with this thing? Did like Kuroto Dan's actor meet up with one of the chief toy guys and just become his best friend so they can get away with doing all this stuff? Because, like, they're straight up halfways just dropping memes in the toys. And, like, that dude is the highlight. I don't want to diminish anyone else's contribution when I say this. Let me say this right now. But this dude is the highlight of the show. I don't think Exade would have quite been what it is if not for, like, what had to have been at some points the physical sacrifices of this actor.
Well, let me put it this way, like, the promos from movies and things, every single one is him. And I think they had little, like, go to movies, get this little, like, tiny figurine of Muteki, and it's just zooming into his face going, "Rejoice!" And the face also, he pulls.
The Heisei Generations movie, right? Like, there's things that Kuroda Dan would do where they're in the background, and, like, 2chan and the blogs and Twitter, like, you know, they show the screenshots. Oh, look, he's leaning back farther and farther. That's pretty
my
funny.
God.
His one appearance in the Heisei Generations first trailer is him doing the opposite of that pose with a huge Sakamoto, who I think is directing, huge Sakamoto dolly push as he's doing a meme pose. And I'm like, no, okay, they have gone full. Everyone at Toei has drunk the Kool-Aid of Dan Kuroda and are in on it. And I'm like, all right, this is beautiful.
The only thing I know I'm going to be sad about those movies is that we can't have another brilliant continue moment.
No. Well, unless, what if they figure it out? Like, what if they just come up with a reason? Like, the one thing I'm not looking forward to, potentially, I don't know any spoilers about True Ending. In fact, I'm amazed that no English-speaking person who saw True Ending seems to have put a synopsis up anywhere. I went looking in a moment of weakness, that weekend of weakness. I'm worried that I might have to see the heartbreaking end, at least temporarily. So I was worried maybe they're going to kill him off in that movie. But then when I saw the ads for the V Cinema, I was like, okay, you know, maybe there's a way this could maybe not be all that great if it's using Bugster clones and stuff, but this actor is such a force of nature. He's going to make whatever they do work as long as he's in it.
Yep.
I had a theory about Kuroda Dan. I think that the character that he was brought in to play was meant to go on to end up being Kamen Rider Kronos. I don't think Masamori Dan was really thought about. I think he was only brought in to continue that plot point.
There were a lot of rumors about that very early on that were apparently supported by some summaries.
It leads credence to my belief that certain plot lines got shuffled around and moved on when they realized, like, we can do it this way as opposed to this way. I think there's definitely two Kurodo Dans. I will say it, Kurodo Dans. Figuratively and in every way. You got the character that we had. They killed that character off when they realized they could do so much more with this actor. Something happened behind the scenes where they realized this guy has something and we need to bottle that and we need to sell it to people. And that was Shin Kurodo Dan, because they killed that character off and they brought that character in. And that character is that actor just going whole hog. Just let him run wild.
I would make one tweak if I were to argue anything. My one tweak would be Shin Kurodo Dan is I would say he might not be the same entity, but he's still the same character as far as the past, because there's a transhumanism element to him that I also, cause I'm way into transhumanism. Surprise, the guy who watches robot shows, but like there's a game called Soma. Which is the easiest example of this.
That is a dark experience.
The notion of continuity of consciousness, where it's like Shin Kurodo Dan Shin Deus God is his experience is still that of, you know, from birth onwards of Dan Kurodo the human. So like he certainly is, like, I guess this is more so like thinking about a way this might be taken the wrong way. Maybe he certainly is still that same character. But like he may be considered a separate entity almost, but still built on the backbone of that. Like that is still the same mind, even if it is a duplicate of it.
But it's is it the Soma thing of if the original would he still be alive kind of thing? Soma got creepy.
I think the plans for him resulted in Masamori Dan. I think that's what his original fate was meant to be.
The role shifted, and they decided that this guy's more fun this way.
Yeah.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I completely agree with you because they are the same guy. But I think, in pure essence, these are two people. One is built off the back of the other, and sure, it's the same character right through.
Although I will say, like, some people say, like, the Shin persona, like, it's just so far removed from what he was before he got killed off, and I'm just like, the seeds were being laid.
Yeah.
The seeds were definitely being laid.
This is a guy who thought because he created life, maybe he's in fact God. And then he crosses over the river Styx and conquers death itself, gives himself, continues. It's like this is just, it's a cartoony delivery of it, obviously. But this is a god complex man who has been, unfortunately, proven right. By circumstance.
And then I love the fight between him and Laser, because like he goes from 80 lives to 4? No, to 5. Yeah, to 4. And then it's just like he realizes he's immune to disease. Anyone else's reaction would be to fight back. His reaction, kill me! It's great! Oh man! I'm amazing! Oh man. But
I feel like in anything about his number of continues, I feel like the character that he is, especially the kind of the weird, like, the final new form he takes in the last minutes of the show, where he's almost like he's become more like Buddha at the end, where he's kind of repentant in his cell.
Yeah,
and
to a point.
Yeah.
And he's rocking backwards in the background going like, I'm God. I'm God.
Yeah.
It's nice that we're watching his ultimate game as well right now in Kamen Rider Build, because that's totally what we're doing.
Yep.
Yep.
Is it a show in its own right, or are we watching a let's play created by?
Like I was reading something. Apparently, there is going to be some stuff built up soon about basically what. Like I don't. It's weird. Like, is Build related to the game world, not Exade's world? Because they said I was reading something. They said like we're going to deal with the fact there's no Skywall in Exade.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a level of planning I usually write off on Rider shows just by the nature of making them every year.
You could totally take it on board in your own headcanon right now that the show Kamen Rider Build that we're watching right now is the game that Kuroda Dan created.
The newest game world.
Based on the Kamen Rider Build he came across in Exade.
Man. Also, I would love it if Kuroda Dan keeps coming back.
Oh my god, yes.
Because Kuroda, he's in a position to become the new Honore Decade guy. Except that he could be the successor to Narutaki's throne of showing up and everything, except that the show accepted him for who he is. So Narutaki became an exercise of depressing unrealized potential. Dan Kuroda realized several potentials we didn't even know he had already. And he's in a position, he is the perfect guy to bring back as much as the actor's willing to. And it sounds like the actor had a blast working on this stuff.
Yeah. But like, I always said, like, the greatest sign that everyone on the show got it, like, there was just this moment of complete, holy crap, what have we made, was the Dangerous Zombie suit. Yeah. Because they make what might be one of the best suits they've ever made.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, the cracked visor, and you don't realize it's cracked originally. You think he's got these bichromal eyes, but no, it's like, no, both eyes are blue. It's just like the red visor's been removed. And it's this wonderful suit, and oh my god. And then he gets killed off, and just like, okay, and he comes back with the level 0 form, and it's his original form, but with gray stripes. Okay, we want to give him an upgrade form. We want to give him a final form. What do we do?
Level X0.
We give him, we say like, oh, this is so much stronger than his old form. It's amazing. It's got all the powers, blah, blah. And it's just the Dangerous Zombie suit with a regular belt.
Yeah.
Because they went, you know what's a fucking good suit to use? Yeah? We could keep using it. We could keep using it.
You know what we shouldn't meddle with either? You know what would hardly even change the look of the suit? We'll just switch the belts. Okay, sure.
Yeah. And oh man. And the fact that when he starts, like, because the whole thing now is like he's a glass cannon, like he's got loads of power, but if you hit him, he'll go down in one go. And the way they just went, we could have him like really up the zombie movements in suit, And in suit, like, he's just like, oh my god. Suit actors do not get enough credit, by the way.
Well, also, Dan Kuroda's actor, I watched a supercut of him transforming, basically.
Oh my god.
Scene after scene. And he goes from calmly transforming until, his break moment when he goes level X. Then he just starts, the things he does when he transforms are inspiring on a simple performance level. Like, there's this one part when he's in the shredded black suit, and he transforms, he rolls his eyes back, drops his jaw, and, like, starts doing a little shoulder kink as he's transforming. And all these, like, zombie bugsters are forming around him, and I'm like, this is a scene!
And I love how he transformed, like, he rips through the game symbol.
Yeah.
And I love that they kept that. I love they kept that with the belt. It's still working that way.
Let me date this podcast for a sec. So his fig arts is starting to show up. Like, people are starting to receive them. I need to start scouring Mandarake myself.
Please.
But someone on Twitter already who got it. It's a series of 4 photos of his fist punching through the front of the box of the figure box because there's no window on it.
Link that to me.
I didn't favorite. I just saw it while I was going to sleep. It's out there
suck.
somewhere. I know. I'll do it myself when I get him. Because I'm going to friggin' get. I am ready for him to be a Shin Zangetsu fig arts to try to find.
Yeah.
So I got a certain ceiling I'm willing to go on him, but like
my ceiling is I need to have him.
That transformation has become iconic. There's a stage show where everyone's kind of miming their transformations, and they get to his actor doing the dangerous zombie one, and it's fantastic.
Oh, I thought, and he goes full blast.
Yeah,
of course he does. But I think and the thing is, after he gets the X-Zero upgrade, he only transforms on screen 2 or 3 times, and he never does it with the full sound effect. But every time, like, he kicks through it again in the fight with Kronos, and I'm happy.
Also, the jingle is like
phenomenal.
It's like a genocide.
Oh my god. Like everything about like the
music too.
Music,
for that suit.
The actor, the
track
jingle,
for that suit.
The suit motion, everything about Genom. Like you could not get more perfect.
His 4 or 5 tracks on the soundtrack are probably my favorite part of that soundtrack to just like listen to as a playlist.
When it comes in, it goes dun 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 dun.
Yeah, and then you go to the level 2 version, but you hear the underlying menace of it. But in a very Undertale is my easiest example because that game had a lot of layers and had a very 16-bit sound. But like, so when I say Undertale-ish, that's what I mean, and I don't mean to be one of those people who like keeps referring to the game everyone knows. But like, in his like level 2 track on the soundtrack, there's this kind of like eerie, like very bit crushed undertone to the very poppy Super Mario-ish music, and then like the Shakurehi sports track adds in his personal spooky theme with like heavy electric guitars behind it, and then the Dangerous Zombie one brings it all together with like an industrial dark wave tone.
Yeah. It's a good time.
The dude's pretty cool, by the way. If you haven't caught on, I think we all kind of like him. I don't know. Like, it seems like we do.
Yeah. I freaking adore him. The thing with me, I didn't like him when I first watched those first 6 episodes back in 2016. I just thought he was just a borderline crap character. You could tell he was going to be the bad guy, blah, 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 tropes, blah, blah, blah. And then in the gap between me not watching it and me picking it back up, I was getting all of these memes. I was getting Mikey sharing pictures, the whole lot. And I thought, oh, no, come on. It can't be. It's probably like, oh, look, there's him doing a weird picture. Let me take that picture out of context and post it up as a meme. I never really fully got the whole thing until I started watching it for myself and I saw the beautiful creation of Shin Kuroda Dan. And I was all in at that point. He is possibly one of my most favorite characters in this whole thing.
He's up there. He's a franchise favorite.
What he looked like he was going to be was a Heisei villain, right? And the thing that makes him work is he's a friggin' shocker villain. He's like a shocker villain.
Yeah,
he's a shocker villain, except that he has his own company. So he never got Ryder kicked off a cliff into the ocean like all the other ones. He's a shocker villain who has his own company, who was left unchecked in a Heisei world.
He's a shocker villain that if he got kicked into the ocean, he'd have had a sub waiting.
Yeah. it's almost like a I don't know if this was intentional, but like the fact that we went from having this, I never thought of it till it was my friend Ray who brought it up, like how kind of old timey a villain he is in a real fun way, and now in Build we straight up have a new Shocker as the antagonists, and I love it. I'm not like we need villains like this in every series, but whenever we do get them in the post 2000 series, it almost always is a joy. Like a modern version of the evil organization, especially when it feels like it's building on all the fun stuff of the 70s ones.
Just putting it out there in the side media, Foundation X did turn up, so...
Oh my god, I did a backflip at that! Like, let me brief personal anecdote. I'm one of those guys who really wants to be a cosplayer, but does not have the skill to do so in a satisfying means. And I've always told myself, if I ever actually really try to do it, probably the first costume I'd ever try to do is just Foundation X person. Because, like, that uniform is just so cool. Like, it's such a retro villain organization uniform with a modern tint to it. Like, I love the Zidane X people whenever they show up with their stupid shades, and, like, we just so happen to use every MacGuffin off-screen. Off-screen, we learn how to pop O's medals into our own foreheads to generate our own yummies. Like...
Jesus Christ. Oh dear. Anyway, we could gush, I suspect, on this for a good long while. Matt!
Yes.
Take us on.
Oh, take us on. Crikey, we will be going on. I think we've pretty much covered the entire thing right through.
There is something if you don't, like, if you're going that direction, I'll just cut in there for a second then. If you don't
Mikey
mind.
has a list. Mikey has a list. He's cheating. Mikey has a list.
It's called my brain. It's huge. I'm not actually that, up my own arse. Shut up. I really want to talk about the Bugsters.
Yeah.
Because, well, obviously there's Paradox, who is just graphite, but there is something about, like, I have a thing about Rider villains. I need a good concept. I need something engaging, because if it's just, I are the bad guy, it really bugs the crap out of me.
I think facing example in which the great villain concept wasted on a terrible show was Vize's Orpanox. Because when you find yourself like sympathizing with them over the Riders, it was a great villain idea in an unsympathetic show.
Yeah. But so like my favorite villains are the Greed. I adore the Greed concept. I think it's phenomenal. I love the concept of the Phantoms. I just think it's in the wrong show.
Mm-hmm.
This was an interesting one because it played so heavily into the video games, and then you started bringing in Paradox and Graphite, and their layers really built it up. By the end of it, I thought it was brilliant.
I was actually... Or go ahead.
Just like, why are the Bugsters the way they are? Because they don't get it.
Yeah, they
don't understand. They've got programming, they're following it. And even though they've got higher reasoning, everything else, unless they're really put through the ringer, they don't get why killing is bad. Because for them, killing is it's a reset button.
Yeah.
And Roid Mute's tried this, but I don't think the Roid Mute's ever pulled it off quite as well, because Roid Mute just became more about, I want to be a man.
Well, Roid Mutes very much were more of a classic robot story, which I admit, I love that robot story, so it's part of why I like the End of Drive so much.
Yeah, but this was more in the line of the Greed for me, and just like, we are just so fundamentally biologically different that we have to be confronted with the reality of our actions before we can truly understand what's going on. And then you have Graphite who gets it, and it's just like, no, I am actually very comfortable playing my role.
I loved the way they dealt with Graphite in the end. That was a beautiful way to end that character, where he's like, no, this is actually what I want. This is, I like my role, I like who I am, and the ultimate fulfillment of my life would be to be your final boss. Yeah. And for you to win. Like, that was the key, is like, that he was happiest being defeated as the final boss. I was like, that's beautiful. That's just beautiful.
Yeah, but and then I gotta say, like, Paradox's actor, Parado's actor, I didn't like him at first because he was very much what I kind of say the Baishonen typical bad guy actor. Mm-hmm. Very, very common trope, comes in. Best comparison I can think of is Kai from Deno, who was not a strong villain and was not a strong delivery. And then Parrot becomes more...
The thing about Kai that ends up working is his final words are so just like, I really don't care. I'm like, no, you know what? You actually just fixed the character. That is Kai. I hate everything and I don't care. Whatever. I'm dying. Good. I'm tired of being alive. It's like, all right.
I'm
cool.
sand! But you get Parrot, and then he becomes a focal point about just before he hits his paradox form. And then you get more of him, and he becomes very sinister. And then you get the really drive home thing, like, he doesn't get it. And then you introduce the idea of Love Rika dying. Love Rika's lovely. And a little bit sinister because it means like someone's dead that we never really go into. But, and then they just build on this idea like he's got this ever-growing fear of death because it never hit him before.
Yeah.
But he's still completely self-centered in how he does it until he's forced to actually go through it and go like, and his reaction is not, I'm so sorry for everything. I can't undo what I did.
Yeah.
And he has it's so good.
He should have, like, he's a very unforgivable character for a lot of the Chronicles story because he opens up going like, we're gonna flip the table, we're gonna game over some of these humans, and then to make you realize that to him, he doesn't realize that things work differently. So like, in his mind, it's like, no, I'm just flipping the tables. But it's fine though. It's the way things work. We'll game over
the rules of the game.
Yeah, and then we'll play again later. I loved the part when he just like broke down in front of Emu. And because he starts off all like, hey buddy, let's play some games, and then like it was great, like just because Emu said literally nothing, I think if I remember correctly. He's just standing there looking.
He just said, "Why are you here?"
Yeah, and then
he's not even looking at him; he's looking away.
Yeah. He's doing the like. I thought of it as the way that if you have a dog that you really have to do some tough love with.
Yeah,
you know, like this tough loving the crap out of him. I wanted to briefly though because I'm pretty sure we're going to end up talking about Graphite and Parrot a whole lot here.
Yeah.
My favorite bugsters were actually the suit bugsters, the recurring ones.
What,
Salty.
the turkey heads? Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
No, not them. Salty and
Salty's amazing.
Salty's actually my favorite.
Salty thought he had such a good deal going on.
Yeah, I loved them, Salty, and like the Mad Max Fury Road biker.
Oh my god! Yeah.
I love.
I like Charlie. I like Charlie.
Well, they were all so pure. And I thought that they actually communicated the Bugster character idea the simplest and most straightforward. And I love the fact that, as far as I know, they kind of never died. Like,
the Bugster virus is still an issue at the end. Like, they open a treatment clinic. Like, it's not gone away.
Because there is an implication in their final action scene, because they're almost in the background of the final action scene when the pandemic is going on, where they all specifically also get blown up. And I'm like, there is a way that might have been the end of those characters, and that would be a shame. I wouldn't be like losing sleep over it, but I'd be sad at the lost potential. But the part when I realized these handful of boss characters are the Bugsters, and they are the ones who keep coming back, I loved it. I loved it every time Salty came back, and he had like a fancier hat, and he was just like, this time, I might not fully be aware I'm the level 1/1 boss, but I think I'm the final boss, and I'm gonna win. And
they're all the final boss of their game. That's the thing.
And like the thing Salty doesn't understand is his game is like the level 1 game.
His is the one that you buy for your 4-year-old to introduce him to platforming.
Yeah. It's the part when he gets sucked back into the bug vibes and he's like, "Oh, what's going on? Hey!" And I'm just like, I kind of hope Salty gets his own movie or something. Like, I want to follow I want to see Salty get played through as a character.
And he's the one that Kronos goes after first.
Yeah,
because he's a dick.
Salty is the tutorial level villain.
Yeah,
he's the one dispatched quickly to figure out how to play
the
game.
Yeah.
He will never accept it if someone even tells it to him as plainly as possible. It's just like, nah, it's not possible. I'm Salty. I'm the big guy.
Yeah.
You see these chefs, they're mine.
Mine was Biker Dude because he just wants to race. Even if he has no bike, he has to race.
And his bike never comes back.
No.
After it's been reprogrammed. He never gets his bike back.
I felt bad for him when that happened.
we can definitely throw him in here, actually, because we've never really talked about him. Kyria, who, of course, ends up becoming a Bugster because, popular character. I honestly think he was never really meant to be a rider. I honestly don't think. I think
he wasn't. No, that's not anything. Like, the original concept for Laser was a robot.
It really felt to me like...
and it was like he was... Go on.
I think the episode... there was like an original draft for that episode where he makes his debut, where the actual bike form was meant to be like the equivalent of X-Aid's like upgrade form, so he can ride his own, wear his own bike, like Genom does with his bicycle. That's honestly all I think the main premise of that was. And then they go, no, we can make that into a rider.
Yeah, well, from what I know from the very, very early days when we were just getting the really crappy magazine scans, Laser was originally conceived as a support robot, and he'd start off with the chibi form, he'd become a bike, and then he would graduate into being a rider by becoming level 3.
A lot of the character aspects of Kiryu right in that first episode seems to support that as well, because he doesn't really feel like a human being. He feels like your comical robot type.
Well, he can't fight in his own kind of thing. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
But Kiryu is interesting because I'd love to talk about him, but it's he hasn't got a huge amount of character development.
No, he really doesn't. And I honestly think he's a great actor.
Oh, yeah,
his character shtick was an afterthought.
But, bringing it back to the Bugsters, I have to just talk about this because I meant to talk about it earlier on. The camera work during the last Parad M confrontation, I loved it. Where you've got them speaking directly into the camera, and with the clouds passing by, it accelerated behind them. There's some very inventive scenes in the two-parters, like with the water tank.
Yeah,
there's some. It gets very creative, but
that water tank motif was so much stronger than I was expecting. That to be some real like ham-fisted, like we're gonna try to be artsy for a sec kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That water, the fact that because I thought it was just water for the sake of looking cool. But the fact that the water was meant to communicate his personal feeling of drowning and of being crushed by this fear he has that he doesn't understand
that he's actually always had, that's just been triggered.
Yeah,
it's also the spiral into nothingness as well. That whole thing, you're going to just dip into the void of nothingness. That really screamed it to me as well.
Yeah,
that's what that was. That was the perfect visual representation of what some people think you're going to have when your life is over. That's it. There's nothingness, and it will swallow you up. That's what it felt like to me.
It was a very very simple metaphor, but like used very nicely. I'm because I was thinking about stuff. I like it, but like times when I've seen the actor submerged in water has been like the ridiculous stuff, like when Gills turns into Exceed Gills, where it's like we're gonna have him swim and then explode the mirror, and I'm like, I kind of get it. This is like I like that scene. But that's also like a show reaching well beyond its ability to try to be artsy. And I guess I should say I don't mean artsy as a negative, just to hopefully clear up what I mean. But like,
artsy people.
The feel of those shots was like, and that they only did it for that story bit. Also, I think made it really effective.
Like it wasn't like a recurring motif or anything like that.
Yeah, they didn't have Poppy's actor like jump in a water tank as well or something.
I would have wanted to see that. We only see everyone else walk away.
Half hour. You want to jump in?
But oh man, I just like so much of that character became so much stronger than I was expecting, and even like how did they define his character? He's a character who's a video game character with no video game, and which means he wants to be the main character because he doesn't have anything else. And then at the end of it, he gets one of the best lines he has in the fight with Game Juice is, "We're the main characters." Because he gets to take on that role by doing something he never thought he was able to do. And I have to admit, I think one of the best things I love about the team-up fights is just the utter joy he takes from the entire experience.
It's what he wanted. It's what he wanted all along.
Fighting alongside M and fighting for and like gaining this respect for life and I'm a character with a go. Again, if you take it from a video game thing, he now has his quest. His character-specific quest is now, you are to be a hero, you are to fight alongside your partner. And it was just like I love the fact he became the main go-to partner. I love that for those last few episodes.
And just when they showed, like I said it before, but when they started showing some of the tactical science of the two of them working together and what that means with all their equipment, I was like, this is so open for, like, you get a, not just Sakamoto, obviously, but like, he's still the name I go to. You get some real good fight scene minds working on a fight scene of an M Paradox, like, a co-op session. Like, you could get nuts with this stuff.
And the thing is about that as well, it was seeded really early on in the series as well with the Mighty Brothers X, because, again, if you haven't watched this show, you're listening to this, well, spoilers.
Thanks for taking 2 hours to start going like, hey, you guys are spoiling stuff.
The whole thing about Emu is that an aspect of his whole entire personality is that of Parado. So
basically, Mighty Brother X is his game. He just never realized it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then I love that was like that when that form is used from now on, it's a team up form.
Yeah.
Like when he transformed from the orange Mighty Brother into Paradox, I was just like, oh my god, I love this.
That's what I meant about the fight science. Like when they showed that this is how Mighty Brothers X, quote unquote, scientifically works with their systems. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like they can body switch or not switch, but they can like body split and like drop multiple forms by like doing the Deno thing or the Gadakiriba thing from O's of like. Granted, it was just in the one movie, but I was like, no, it makes sense. Gadakiriba splits himself into like a billion O's, and they all just start putting other metals in. Yeah. You get the O's self-contained Sentai team, which I always wish would come back in something.
Oh, man, it was just so well handled. Like, I seriously never expected to get as into him as I am. To the point where this is a weird show, because there's an official secondary writer. There is. But there isn't. Because of how the show is structured. By the end of it, it's Parad. By the end of it, he's gone into that Hajime position, almost. Yeah. Of being this inhuman individual who's very much in love with life and wants to do good in the world. And has done things in his past he wish he hadn't done.
This is why I'm happy that the structure the storyline took this, as opposed to what I think was the original intention, and the big reveal of Parado being like that other personality. I think they were going to end up teaming up much earlier. I think that whole storyline was going to be done like one and done in the early half of that story. If they did that, it wouldn't have been as effective. I was speaking to Mikey like when I was watching those early things, and I said I'm really, this whole multiple personality thing is a thing. And I actually twigged about Paradox shortly before they did the reveal, but not quite the way that I thought it was going to be. Funny enough, I was talking to Mikey as I was watching that very episode, and it's like, and I think there was going to be there must have been a giant grin across Mikey's face the whole time, because it was like, oh, Matt's learning. It's finally coming. Oh my God, there's the moment.
And then M becomes knockout fighter.
Yeah. Oh,
that was good. That was good.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that Tricks DVD, because I don't know when I should throw this in, but the bigger part of this, but I found out about the Soto figure that's in that box with the photo books and everything else of Knockout Fighter 2, and I went on Amazon and secured one for when it comes out in December.
You're weak.
X8 is so good. I went back and so X8 is really good. It had a candy toy figure line that it turns out was also really good that I'd kind of ignored for a bit.
Yes.
And then it turns out that candy toy line turned into the line where whoever was working on it was like, we're also going to do every suit ever.
Yep.
And
because everyone involved in the show eventually just came to really care.
Yeah.
Except the figure arts guys and the main gimmick toys guys. They weren't invited to the parties.
The fact that there's no Level Up Rider, Poppy, or Cronus to this day, I find astonishing.
Cronus especially.
Yeah. But like, this show I went back and tracked down 10 waves plus premium Bandai exclusives of a candy toy series. And candy toys don't get second runs.
No.
Because they have candy in them with best before. They do one. So, also check the best before dates if you're buying the backlog on these. But like, I'm really happy that I went back and did that. Because like, it's the designs became so characterful and so attached to a lot of moments. Like, the weakest parts of this toy line are, those little robot gamer add-ons. And it's like, how amazing is, because that's all that Level Up Rider really leaned into, because that was what it was there for. So you have this candy line that's like also leaning, like series like 6 onwards, it's just leaning into all the good stuff from the end of the show.
In fact, Game Deuce Chronos got one that came out the same week he's on the show.
Well, so the pre-order went up the same week. That one actually isn't out yet.
Oh,
that's Premium Bandai Final Stage. That set is coming out in December. That's Game Deuce Chronos, Nico Ride Player, and then all those extra bits, including the continue pipe. Also, belt buckles for when you have characters with a buggle driver and they've took it off to use it as like a chainsaw. That set is coming with like a buggle driverless belt buckle for each character, so you don't just have a hole on their chest, like, or on their stomach. It's a good line. I won't go on Soto too much longer, but Soto is a very good line. Dai Soto is a great companion piece. And I'm going to make Mikey buy all of it, so it's going to be great.
Yes, you should. You should. I will when I have the money, to be completely honest. I already was looking at prices. I could get Stage 9 right now, and I want to at least at some point pick up all the Ultimate Forms.
I would say concentrate on Dai Soto to get the really good stuff right away, because that'll keep you satisfied while you're picking up the pieces afterwards.
I will look into it. Right, we should be winding up here now. I can think of 2 other topics that really need to be covered, but I'm just going to leave it to you 2 lads. Anything else you want to say?
Did we have anything else to say about Kiria? I wanted to throw in, I thought, for a guy who kind of was the mysterious dead actor character to the point where he got, the bouquet twice, which I thought was great. That dude was fantastic. And thanks to his performance, his return worked. And also, the guy just had a good look. Like, he's one of those guys I look at where I'm just like, no, there's no question. That is a handsome dude. And they are dressing him and presenting him as handsomely as possible. And it is working real well. And the fact that he also had, just a real damn good, either be it a high kick or a spinning kick when he would hit his player select icon.
I love that he did it. No stunt work for that.
Yeah, that was the topper for that actor, just being so damn good. And every single appearance he made post-death, where his character performance was also, in every appearance, was very much based on the idea of, hey, what's up? Yeah, I know I died, and I'm okay with it, but I'm here to help you out. And then there would always be this little reveal at the end of, wait, is he dead? Because he seems to have pulled something over on everyone. Even though he owned up to just being a phantom, why is he still up to stuff? Which was just the actor made that character arc work. He played the death scene so well, but he played his hints at and then his return just as well. And he just, and the laser turbo suit, I know a lot of people don't like. I kinda love it, because it's the laser turbo suit looks like such a piece of tactical equipment compared to a lot of the other Exade suits. And it's this weird prototype suit with all these prototype gashette armors plugging into it. And also him showing up driving a laser cycle with a proto Shakariki sports bicycle stuck on his shoulders. I like Laser a lot. Laser, I think, if I leave out character stuff that I liked more about other characters, and I just go into who would I want a shelf of everything of? It's kind of Laser, because he's so different and he hits every aesthetic. His
Kiryu Chambara looks gorgeous.
Yeah, the Chambara transformation, Gatai almost, it's straight up super robot stuff going on.
Yeah. That's not accidental.
Yeah, I got a whole, that was my final Soto quest, was making a list of and then tracking down everything so I can have the comprehensive Soto Kiria display, of everything. Cause it was the Soto toys that kind of secured me on Shanbara, and even Full Dragon. Well, his version of Full Dragon. Cause I just really got into the way they played with that stuff, and the cherry on top is the Hyper Battle DVD add-on for Exade, the Proto Bike Gamer Exade, because that sounds like what you were just talking about earlier. That is the laser bike Shakariki sportsing itself on his armor, and it's really cool. And the way that it uses parts of Level 5 laser on the Exade suit in ways I didn't notice until I assembled the armor, because it's a little bit model kit like. It's really, I like Kiria and Laser a whole lot. I'm happy it's him and Dan Kuroto in that one part of the trilogy of epilogue stuff.
Yeah, that's gonna be good.
He's also, as a character, once he's a bugster, I love how he was the check and balance in a way on Shin Dan Kuroto. Yeah. In very cartoony ways, but also very straightforward, logical, and in the delivery, as I always say, very, very eager and very wholehearted of This dude, so Dan Kuroto God Shin, is super cool with what he is. And he's like, no, I have evolved. I am now God because I have conquered death. Whereas Bugster Kyria seems way more aware of what he is as a thing. And in that perspective, he's the one who's kind of taking God Complex guy and always just like yanking him down off of the soapbox every time he can, stuffing him into a bug visor or whatnot. Just going like, hey, FYI, we're both viruses, all right? Like, I got a feeling that might be the crux of their part of the trilogy, the epilogue trilogy. It felt like Kyria's role Bugster Kyria's role in that duo is he's the one who is like, as much as this might make us feel like immortals, we're actually viruses. And we should be grateful that we're not being cured, in a sense. Like, that's the feeling I got when he was like, given his doctor jacket again. Yeah. And he seemed kind of happy because he's like, I'm a virus. Like, I'm a bad thing.
Oh, dear. Matt, anything you want to add to Kyria or any other topic you want to bring up?
No, Chris pretty much covered everything I was going to say about the guy. One thing I will add, this guy, the actor, not the character, but the actor, deserves a way more prominent role in another tokusatsu show down the road, because Hot Damn, what he showed us, he had some serious chops. All the subtle stuff that he had with Emu in that as well, I really felt for him.
Oh, I forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah.
When he felt that, Emu was the only one he could really be entirely truthful towards in subtle ways, it is very heartening to, again, the whole Brave and Snipe thing. There was a little bit of payoff between human Laser and then later on with Bugster Laser. When he whispers into his ear, just roll with the lie. Because I trust you. I ain't going to go with anyone else. This is you. Play your part. Come on. You know what we're doing. And stuff like that. And the sincerity in his eyes. The amount of emotion you can put in the eyes and simple little tics and mannerisms. You don't have to say much to really convey. And he was a
really good eye actor. Like, especially when he tries to be truthful and Kuroto makes everyone not believe him.
Yeah.
He had this great moment in his eyes, not of sadness, but of like, all right, I guess I really am going to be on my own.
Kind of thing.
He's like, I'm the one who's going to have to solve this.
And then he turns it into like, well, maybe you can learn a lesson from this.
I think that it's sometime in the future that he feels like one of those guys who's going to end up in a leading role in a Garo show.
Yeah.
If he enjoyed doing tokusatsu, which I'm still, that's always the question with a lot of toku actors is like, did they enjoy the grind of doing one of these full year shows? And I wanted to say, I completely forgot about it, and you brought it up. I was so happy with the way they played the return of him, like, not coming back as a bad guy fully, because that's another modern Rider trope that I was expecting to see just played out of like, hey, we got the actor and we got like an upgraded suit, but he's also evil, and maybe he'll turn good right before we kill him again. Like, I liked that it ended up being like, no, we're actually forming this super team in the doctor's office.
Doctors of Doom. Right, so in that case, I'm just going, like I said, I think there's only really two other things I definitely want to cover. One of them, we've touched on a wee bit, is the final bad guy, who is also the longest running bad guy, I think, in Rider history, in terms of when he gets confronted, which is Kamen Rider Kronos, Masamune Dan, Dan Masamune, sorry, who is Kuroto's father. He is basically every corrupt game company head that's ever lived. He's also one of the guys I think a lot of people loved or hated, because he doesn't go away. I mean, basically, after being very clearly overpowered, his entire plot is finding ways to kind of undermine other people's upgrades, not get a new upgrade himself.
Yeah.
To the point where the big endgame boss isn't the endgame boss, he is. Which I actually prefer, because if there's one thing Ghost pissed me off on, it's how it basically had, here's the end boss, okay? Now here's someone who has no character for the last 5 minutes.
Much the Lex Luthor archetype I brought up earlier, when I thought that's where Kuroto Dan's arc was going to end up being. He pretty much picked up the baton that Kuroto Dan left for him.
Yeah, but I think his character itself is not very expansive, because he's basically, I am making the ultimate game, I'm going to control the world. I mean, that is it. And everything is like him reacting to either his plan working or his plan not working. But the combination of the dialogue and the delivery made this guy I just loved on screen.
Yeah.
Absolutely
His,
loved. The guy,
his actor
phenomenal.
got into it the way that Dan Kuroto's
Yeah.
actor got into it. Like, he was on Twitter, he didn't do much, but I saw a tweet of his going around where he was just dropping a big, written-in Romaji character, Zeponda! Like,
Yeah.
pointing at something. I'm like, okay, this guy at least got it.
The
Like,
guy was great. Like, his line delivery in the suit especially. His voice acting. Like, he has a real career in voice acting if he ever wanted to give up the music. It just like, he was so quiet at first. For 4 or 5 episodes. And then the extreme comes in. And I love the fight with him, Paradox, and Exade. Because he's just like, it's just a really, he just shows up and just says like, you're no longer a threat to me. And it just the way he says it, it's just like, ugh.
I also...
And then game to Kronos, and I know people got tired of him. I know they kind of went, and he's being beaten because, virus, blah, blah. But I fell in love with it. And also, phenomenal suit design.
Well, I loved the final fight scene that he was in the callback to, number one callback to opening is great, but like that final fight scene, I loved it because like, something Rider shows sometimes do is job out the final boss when all the Riders unite and they just make the fight scene like, everyone is just going to spam final attacks on this dude. You're gonna feel bad for him before he explodes because he never even got a punch in. Like Utopia Dopant at the very end of Double. Or basically anytime Double had a big end boss fight scene, like Fear, Terror as well.
Yeah,
It's like
Terror,
Double
definitely.
Extreme is just gonna punch him like 50 times, and the guy's just gonna keep falling over.
And then you're gonna remember it's an old man.
Yeah, and you're just gonna go like, this is kind of terrible. But like that final fight scene, like Cronus straight up like holding his own right to the very end.
Against 5 guys.
Yeah, and then that awesome double rider kick ending, like.
No.
Cronus had the design is also awesome.
Yeah.
He had a lot of good fight scenes.
Also
really
delayed
cool.
continue in that fight.
Yeah, fight sciences behind him as well. Like the like when he would hit pause and reset, and then when like Exade and Paradox start planning around that. And also I just want to throw a quick one out for the actor. By the end, when he was like fully virus corrupted, evil dad. I loved it whenever he thought he was winning, he wouldn't just give a speech. He'd walk up, he would just start wagging his finger at people too. Just going like, you fools, this is why I'm going to win. You all thought you were smarter than me. The rule of the world is I am the smart. He's just wagging his finger at them. And I'm like, this is great. That is the perfect body language for this guy.
It's the moment where he thinks Muteki can't come back, and he just, Parrot's dead, everyone's like sad, and you just cut to him and the smile.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's like,
God.
now I get to tell all of you why you're gonna die before I kill you.
It shows that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree between him and Kuroto as well.
Yeah.
I love that they hate each other.
Parallel. Such a good parallel.
I love they hate each other.
Yeah. The fact that they never once got along was perfect. The weaker series would have been the one where Dan Kuroto comes back and works for his dad for like.
Or
5
they have
episodes.
a moment.
Yeah. No, there's no moment. These two hate each other.
I like when they were all like doing the bit in the final episode, and we're going like, "Why are we fighting?" You're just like, "I'm fighting from doctors. I'm fighting to help people." Cut to Kuroto. I love games.
You brought up the thing with Kuroto. You kind of had that sort of Heisei moment, or early Heisei moment, when Brave joined the bad guys so he could be back with his girlfriend. And what I liked about it was quick and to the point, that arc. It didn't get dragged out, and there was also genuine reasons, which you also sympathized with him as well. You didn't make him an unlikable character at all. I mean, his early arrogance certainly did, but, there was a reason behind that arrogance.
Well, the actor also played that, side with the bad guy story arc really well. Like
I really don't want to be here.
Yeah, just showing him buried under guilt and strife, and
whereas earlier shows would just say, "Right, I'm the bad guy now. I'm playing the bad guy. This is what I am.
I have a dark jacket now."
He
been like, I have a
movies.
Yeah.
I'm wearing dark clothes now. it's a bad thing.
Even
It's how you
friggin'
knew. If now you knew, Dan never really fully went the good guy because he never took off his dark jacket.
That's right. Well, even True Brave, like, Game World hero, when he's supposed to be like an antagonist of the film, he played him so well that's like, no, I understand everything you're doing and why you're doing it, and that like you're like this is like you confronting yourself in a way. Actually, I had a real quickie I wanted to throw in before we were done because I feel like it needs to be said. I want to know. I have my opinion on it, which is a very specific one. Are you guys pro Shakuriki Sports, or why are you wearing a bike Shakuriki Sports?
I actually got to like it, but mostly because again, they went with it. They went with it hardcore. I love it was the final. I think it was the final suit in the Kronos fight. Before they all got knocked back. It's dumb. It's very dumb. I hated it when it showed up in Ghost. Oh, I hated it. I hated that whole like Genom cameo. Like I thought Build had a much stronger cameo in terms of that thing, but it's just fun and it's got eyes and it's very of the show. It doesn't look great, but it's fun. What about you, Matt?
I at the time when I first saw it, I just thought, well, it goes with the silly nature of the visual theme. So I just took it as it was, just a simple upgrade coat for the character. And that's pretty much as far as that went, really.
All right.
The color aspect, the clash between the dark suit and the big colorful bike, it was just the main thing. I didn't really put that much thought into it.
So for me, Shakuriki Sports is such ongoing internal dichotomy and strife. It's stupid. It's probably terrible as a design. A lot about it is bad. And then something about it, especially once I saw how it worked through a Soto figure, something about it started to cycle around. Whereas Dragonite Hunter Z, I just dislike. Yeah, you see what I did? Dragonite Hunter Z, I just kind of dislike. Shakuriki Sports like swirled around, and it was so dumb that it like became fun. And also, FYI, it does have eyes when it's armor, but when it's a bicycle, those eyes turn into just like a solid line. Like so that the Soto figure has 2 different stickers you can put on that part of the thing. Because when it's a bicycle, the eyes are like hidden behind like a visor thing.
Yeah. If you talk about upgrade forms, I really, really love the battleship that Snipe wears as a coat.
It's awesome!
He got a little captain's hat.
That's one that also cycles around. That thing is, if you just look at it, it is pretty dumb. It's busy, it's ridiculous. But it pushes it well past the bounds of good taste, and it cycles back around and becomes something really cool.
In that case, I am aware of time here. I want to do the last thing, which is something I really wanted to touch on because it was the big surprise for me, which was the side material. X8 has, I think, an infinite amount at this stage because we've got the tricks, we've got 2 movies.
And we're still waiting for the end of Proto Snipe's story as well, I think.
Yeah, Snipe's story as well. We've got Go Rider. We've got True Ending coming up. We've got another ending coming up. We've got Paradox's thing coming up. The thing is, with one notable exception, which in my opinion is the Superhero Tyson movie, they're all pretty damn good.
Yeah. Yeah.
To a surprising amount.
Even at their weakest. Okay.
And you could pretty much shoehorn them into the main narrative story as well. You can literally slot them in between breaks in the TV story, which is great.
And they are, even at their weakest, they are at least providing like some fun alternate looks at things for a few minutes from another angle. Actually, this is basically what all the Drive ancillary stuff was like as well.
I've only seen the Chase movie.
Okay, so Drive had also a ton of like Hyper Battle DVD stuff and one-off things, and Drive was meticulous in making it all fit continuity-wise into the timeline of the story. Drive did it on the backbone of the fact that there were a finite and numbered number of Roidmudes. So Drive accounts for every Roidmude by having some of them exist and only appear in some of these side stories, and then like keeping track of, like, they had a spreadsheet or something to keep track of it. Like, you know how in the Drive crossover movie there was that Ultimate Lupin character, like the thief Kamen Rider?
The one with the cool hat.
Yeah. So at the end of that movie, he lives on as kind of like a digital phantom in his transformation device and is like, we'll meet again, Drive, and you never see him again.
Yeah.
They did a one-off where he comes back, and he and Drive, it's very low budget, but he and Drive fight side by side against like two of the unaccounted Roidmudes in the continuity of the series or something like that. And Ultimate Lupin, spoilers a little bit, suffers a finality in that, which then explains why the Ultimate Lupin transformation device was at the end of Drive when all the equipment appears in one shot.
Oh god, it is, isn't it?
They are, that show, Drive was like the prototype for how Exade treated a lot of its side material. That's part of the reason why I like Drive so much as well, is like, everything that Drive put out mattered somehow. And just like with, same thing with Exade. Like, even Night of Safari mattered. Even the stupid, superhero Tyson with True Brave had that backstory on Hero. It's almost, like, it almost becomes a negative in that if you don't engage with a lot of this side stuff, I think you're missing out on a lot of the characters' finer points. Or at least like some of the finer, subtle moments that got sprinkled in through that material. Cause yeah, it's all really fun. Like,
yeah. And dark. Mostly very dark.
Like the quote unquote return of Dr. Pac-Man, the Genmu tricks thing. Certainly was very weak visually in a lot of ways. And like the action was very like Hyper Battle DVD, you know, not to put a dower on all that, but like even then, like it had cool designs. It even added in another angle to the Dr. Pac-Man movie of like, hey, by the way, Dan Kuroda was skulking around in the background, like I guess writing things down or holding a PDA at stuff to get their data, whatever that means.
Oh man, but like they went places that I didn't think were like bringing Oja back and bringing the actor back, and then how are we going to do Oja? Go full into it. Full into it. Have him beat the hit out of your main character.
Go beyond what you let him do.
Didn't he kill people? He did actually kill people, right? Yeah,
he did it. What did he? Bludgeoned them to death.
Well, he beat people to death with a pipe.
They always alluded to stuff in Ryuki without showing necessarily a whole lot, and like I felt like his return here, even though, you know, he didn't like straight up kill anybody, like brutally on screen, they let him push a little bit past what they were allowed to do in the Ryuki TV series. Like when he's basically like stalking that one nurse, eating a Fisher, and just going like, I'm gonna kill you and maybe do things with you. And it's like,
which is a direct nod to Changerian as well, the whole Mackel.
Yeah.
Can I also say, like, doing that in a Neo Heisei show? Didn't see it coming.
Well, actually, we're kind of in the post era of post.
I don't know. It's weird. You can kind of do it like you had double, then you had like a double O's, and then you had like the Forza to Wizard era. Then you had Drive, and then you had Ghost as a backlash, and then you had
I might be trolling when I'm doing this because maybe we were on another podcast, but I like to think we're in a post Neo Heisei era pretty soon. But also, like, we're not quite in that post Showa pre Heisei Neo Showa era either. We're kind of in a post Heisei Neo post Neo.
How long is this going to work when the new Emperor comes in?
Well, do we know his name yet?
I don't know who he is, but I think the other guy's quitting.
Yeah. I've done this long enough, I'm quitting.
Kind of, yeah. They're like, I've been Emperor for long enough, I'm out. But, Go Rider was very well written. And was also just like, here's Dan going nuts again, but...
I think that the three of us can all mutually agree. Also, if you watched Blade, great sort of nice nod to that, and makes you throw your fist in the air and go, yeah, Kanzaki, my man.
Just the idea that they were like, how are we going to beat the bad guy? Well, years ago, guys, we wrote the idea that if one of these things exists, the world ends. Yeah? We could do that.
And what if Dan is so good at what he does, he created such a realistic world, he actually caused the battle fight rules to become engaged by replicating Kenzaki's powers so well that the end of the world was caused, even though it's all a digital copy.
No, yeah, it's him. He used his Joker powers to break into it, basically.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he's a god, more or less. So he came in and just like, by the way, you're not pretending to be me anymore. No, I'm not. That was a mistake.
Because now I'm the only one. And the
Welcome
rules
to my
do say,
town.
kaboom, the whole world starts imploding. Like, if there were two things to throw on that ending that didn't work, A, those roach monsters also should have just come pouring out of everywhere.
Yeah.
And
the
B,
rad roaches kind of thing, whatever they were.
yeah, and B, Kenzaki doesn't actually get an exit from that story. He just disappears.
Yep.
And I was kind of like, oh man, like, I want to see, like, the ending of the show again. Like, show at least a beach with, like, the sound of a motorcycle and a big tire track or something.
Yeah.
Like,
I like to think that Blade, at least the TV series version of Blade, happened in the X-Aid universe. Therefore, we've got him, at least in the side material version of X-Aid.
He's off there somewhere, hanging out, trying not to think about his best friend.
So he's got to go off and, make sure he just doesn't tag hands with Chalice. So, there you go. That's what's happening.
As much as I like that, the big shocker for me was how much I liked the Ghost crossover movie. Because I have not been kind to those movies before. And it did everything right. It broke up the idea, like, I think one of the things in the Drive movie, I don't think I haven't seen the Ghost Drive movie, but I know that they came up with the idea of, like, why don't we just have it as an ongoing story instead of the 3 parts?
mm.
And they kept that, but they did have a breakup element, and it's basically who the side characters are. But they did an ongoing story. They tied into the fact that this guy is all about dead, this guy's all about life, and then they go like, you know what people would really love? If we brought in the old riders. Well, we can't get one guy. We can make it seem like he's there.
That was one of... I was amazed. I felt like the character was there, and usually, like, one of my least favorite things in the still somewhat new era of riders actually showing up in each other's things, and, the rider army is always showing up, is when I feel like a character is now just a suit being inhabited by, like, an animatronic, basically.
Yep.
Hate
it.
The fact that they made me think that, like, real Gaim was there, and that they delivered on it by working his leitmotif into the soundtrack, by having Wizard react as though, like, rightfully, a space god just showed up. Like, the fact that Wizard was the one who was like, holy crap, it's you! And everyone else like, who's this? And then Drive is like, no, this guy, we had a moment.
This is actually God. But it's just like, I described that the movie stops and goes, holy shit, it's Gaim.
Yeah. Well, he breaks, like, we can't get the suit, we can't show him transform, we can't get a transformation. Okay, what if he arrives as a literal comet breaking in through the ceiling? and then just the fact that, like, the 2 riders who don't know him, right? Like, the Ghost and X-Aid, it's Drive and Wizard who are like, no, listen, he's the real deal, alright? And they just accept it. Like, it was so good.
Yeah.
And then, like, he doesn't get to transform in the big group transformation scene. However, he gets to finish off the catchphrase lineup.
Yep.
It was so good.
But not just that, like, something else they played off of. I hate when they bring back suits and depower them, so that either to power up the new movie exclusive suit or to have the 2 riders be more even, because I do think they have these movies way too early in the series. So I really hate it because it just makes them suits. It's the same thing with, when you don't have the feeling of the character being there. It's just a suit. And this one is just like, no. We're not going to, like, play down all the ultimate forms. They're going to be off doing something else, fighting enemies specifically themed after them.
Yeah. And fighting also ostensibly like an army of goons as well.
Yeah.
By themselves.
And then X-Aid's going to fight some guy he doesn't seem to be as powerful as the rest, but he's themed after him. And Ghost is going to fight this guy who's as powerful as an ultimate villain. And then no one is made to look shit.
And then also you get this wonderful feeling. I love, like, this brought a tear to my eye. When Gaim, when he's fighting Chanbara Lady at first, before they cut away from him, he turns into Kaito Gaim with the banana armor, and I was like, oh my god, it's really him! And that's his friend's suit, and he's using it because this lady has crossed the wrong space god. And it was so good.
When Kachidoki came in, I nearly screamed. That was
this was something that happened in Megamax. So in Megamax, it was kind of like all the villains who tried to gang up on Double. You're just like, oh, you messed with the wrong one. You picked the wrong one to gang up on. And in this one, it was kind of like everyone had a moment of it, but Chanbara Lady especially. You're just like, you entered into a losing fight the moment you decided to go after the one with the katana. Like,
you're just like, I'm Japanese, you're Japanese. Let's do something samurai based. And just like, you Should have flipped a different coin.
Yeah, and they played it that way too. It's like that was a one-sided ass fight in the best way. It's just like,
And then he just walks up, like the rest go in like full attack mode, and like he transforms into Kiwami and just starts walking up.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
she's like, run the fuck away.
I'm so excited for this new movie when they're getting the actual actor back.
No,
I thought he was done, and they got him back.
But, okay, like, I do want to... In terms of side stuff that's going to break my fucking mind, we have 3 of the 4 in one movie. And we already had the 4th in another thing. Because we're having Exade, Gaim, and Oz all in the same fucking movie!
And not just Oz, but Ankh as well.
Oh my god!
Which means, and with it being these writers who, like, I'm assuming this is very much like a good crew if they got Sakamoto in on it.
Yeah.
Like this seems like I am not expecting them to answer the long-running question we're all asking about Ankh.
Yep.
But I feel like, hey, there's a 10% chance this film's actually going to do it. And hey, I sure would be cool with that if they did.
And I'm just like, our one clip is the 2 of them just being them.
Yeah,
The
Ankh just going like, give me something, and Eiji's just like, oh, you my...
The question
I'm a
is,
floating
Super
hand
Tataba or
brother.
Puto Tira?
Puto who?
Yeah, fuck off.
Oh,
Super
you mean the penultimate form, Puto Tira?
Don't... Super Tataba is evil.
No, I'm not talking about Super Tataba. I'm talking about the actual ultimate form, Tajidor, full blade.
No, there's a whole
there's a
story
whole
thing. There's
there's a
a
whole
wonderful
figure for it.
story thing about the whole Tajidor thing.
Wasn't it that thing based on a snake and a cobra that he had in that movie? That kind of shit.
Oh,
Burakawani
Burakawani, yeah,
looks
his true
awesome.
ultimate form.
It looks awesome.
He does a sliding alligator kick.
Yeah. But, yeah, I am, like, I may be gushing a bit about that movie long before I see it. Just because
No,
I don't care if everyone else is shit.
Yeah,
I really don't.
I want to temper my expectations. It's just you clearly got a director I like. You've got actors back, all doing stuff that looks like a whole lot more than a 5-minute cameo. So like, I'm happy to start feeling like, hey, this might be one of the best Rider movies in a good. This might be up there with Megamax. And if it isn't, it's probably still going to be pretty good. Because guess what? Sakamoto Rider movies usually deliver, at least on a very base level. My least favorite ones are still fun to watch. Like,
They got the action, at least.
yeah.
But, yeah, so, side material on Exade. Kind of exceptional for the genre.
Oh yeah, it's up there with Drives by far.
Yeah.
I think Drive and Exade have done that stuff the best so far.
Like I said, I'm aware of time for this, and also I'm probably going to get kicked out of here for making too much noise soon. So, let's wrap it up. Are there any final thoughts either of you would like to share on Exade?
I live in the world where we're not getting X-Aid every week, and it feels very lonely. I await the movies with bated breath, especially since they've got some riders I really like in it as well.
Yeah, I'm chomping at the bit to get to see some fan subs of those films. It's a very sobering moment where I once again remember I am not the target demographic. I'm not in the right country even. This show wasn't made for me. I just happen to like it. I would say Exade is a solid piece of tokusatsu. It has love letters to Rider all throughout it. But I would say on a very distant, looking at it from a very distant spectrum, Exade is almost like it's just a really good tokusatsu show more than it is a good Rider show. And so I wouldn't say it's indicative of what to expect from Rider necessarily, but if you want to just like have a good Toku show that you might want to watch with someone who might want to check out tokusatsu, and they're down with some silly visuals, Exade is just a good package. I think that the video game side of it being so genuine and rooted in the very base DNA of video games as a thing ups its accessibility enormously. I think Exade might be a really good Toku series for introducing someone into this whole kooky world of the Toho style tokusatsu.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I don't know what to add to that. Like, I said the 4 because I didn't think this would happen, by the way, when I was watching it. Exade's, like, I don't really have a number 1 show. I have my favorite show, and I have what I think is technically the best show. And I have the one that I think is, a really good ride and everything else. But for me, it's always in Blade, Gaim, and Oz. They hold a very special position for me. And I didn't expect to say this, but Exade's up there. Like, It does so much well. There are negatives. There's some plot progression issues towards the end. There's the issue of Poppy and Nico. There's a bit of the rush at the start to get all the toys out of the way. But those are such nitpicks in comparison to the quality of the actual series. And yeah, like, if you haven't seen this, if you're watching this or listening to this and you haven't seen the show, you're nuts. But check it out if you're into anything Japanese. And if you have seen the show and you haven't been checking out, like, the side stuff, go out and look at it. We've still got stuff coming out. There's stuff coming out until at least next April. It's really worth your time.
And if you want to pursue Soto, go find the 2 kanji characters that actually form the word Soto, and you can easily search for it on Mandarake, or on Yahoo Auctions Japan if you want to be an idiot like me and start using middleman services. eBay, sometimes Soto stuff will show up, but do not pay more than $60 for a set of Soto toys. If it's from a wave, you should be paying $60 for a case of them with dupes, but some of them are harder to find, so maybe $60 for a set at least that should be your ceiling. But hit up the Rake, go find, I have a Google Doc for myself where I have the case assortments all laid out. So if anyone needs some of that info, I can always help with searching out the Soto. But, yeah, it is up there. Like, I'm a little bit of a wider berth, but like, it's Exade and Gaim are up there. It's like Exade, Gaim, Drive, Blade, Forze, and Ryuki to a degree are some of my tops. And, yeah. As much as the first impression is not something I judge a show on, I didn't think this one was going to be up there with those heavy hitters.
Indeed. And, of course, Xade hasn't really left us, because right now we are enjoying the incredible Let's Plays of Kureto Dan's amazing new game called Kamen Rider Build. I just hope that Genome Corp allows him to finish the game as satisfyingly as it seems to have started, and don't pull a Hideo Kojima on him.
Yeah, I hope that we don't get Konami'd on Build. That would be a shame. Or, lock it behind DLC.
Yeah, no DLC. No paywalls, please.
You know what? I just realized, like, Dan Kuroto is kind of a Hideo Kojima as well. Like a quote-unquote auteur video gamer who is way the hell too much up his own butt about his approach to everything.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Guy, thank you so much for this one. Oh, it was an utter blast. And I've also looked at my Audacity and realized it's still recording, but it's rearranged all my buttons while we've been doing this.
Oh, dear.
That's really weird.
It's been reprogrammed. That was me.
Reference. Oh, dear. Guys, time to shill yourselves, as is our wont.
Do we do that on the woo-woo still?
We do that in the woo-woo. We don't shill Moonbase 2, but we do shill the guests. So, Matt.
You can find me on the Old All House. You can find us on Facebook under facebook.com/the Old All House. You can also find us on our website, oldallhouse.weebly.com. I do such shows as Open Air Anime Radio, where I blatantly nick something off of young Chris here, where he used to have a radio show that played anime music. I also play anime music, and you should check it out. I also occasionally do things such as Cyber It's all about vintage anime, and speed reading about Sonic the Comic, the old British comic book based on Sonic the Hedgehog.
All right. Chris, what about yourself?
Everything I do ends up in some way on Vangelus.ca. I'm also Vangelus Central in a lot of places, like Instagram and on YouTube. On YouTube, I'm also Vangelus Reviews. I also host WTF TFW, the Transformers podcast. Always on topic, always on time, by true Transformers fans, over on TFW2005.com. That's an ironic subtitle. And, I also pop up now and then here and there on Moonbase 2 when Mikey calls on me. And, also
I keep them in a box.
HJU Radio is kicking up again, and I've been participating in that. Actually, there's another. That's an Exade build focused episode, the return of HJU Radio. So if you still want more people talking about Exade somehow, even though we kind of hit everything, if you want more, there's more over there. And if you want to find me, I'm usually the most active on twitter.com/Vangelus. But I also have this I have established a pattern of not replying to people super fast so that I can sometimes just not reply to people very fast because I don't want to write things down. So I'm there. I'm quiet for a while because I'm sorting out my stuff But I'm John Wickish like that. You know, I'm just working things out.
Yeah. Do you have a dog?
No, I would kind of like one because I'm not allergic to them. I love all animals, but I'm allergic to cats, which is a shame. That's a Patreon exclusive for all your guys. Is this show? So I don't know how your woo woo works. Is the show permanently Patreon, or do you guys start leaking out some woo woo to entice people in? Because I feel like this would be, if you eventually in a few months like put out a free woo woo to get people to reach in to get some more of that paid woo woo. This seems like one of those ones that might be pretty good to do that with.
It might be. I'll run it by Andy and see what he says.
All right, Andy, don't edit that out. I said all those funny sentences with woo woo in it. That makes it worthwhile content.
Yeah.
If you're paying to hear the woo woo, then you're getting to hear all these behind the scenes things as well.
Why do I bring you on again?
Well, usually it's because Andy's here and he can hear me padding stuff out, and he audibly starts going like, "Oh my god, I have to edit this down to 60 minutes for the non-Patreon feed or whatever." And I'm like, "Andy, tell me more about your woo woo." This is what happens when you host podcasts and edit them. Is that when you go on other people's podcasts, you feel the sense of freedom. So it's not your problem.
Yeah, you got two audio editors right here. I look.
How great is it that neither of us have to edit this?
I don't have to edit it either. It's grand. To be fair, like it's Patreon. Like they want more content. They're paying for it. Yeah. Yeah, Matt is literally paying to hear his own voice. Yeah, this is amazing. Right. Andy, don't cut it out. Don't be that guy. No one likes that guy.
My favorite part of podcasts is when we start talking to editors too, because then they're just sitting there going like, "Do I leave this in because it's funny, or do I cut it out because it's only for me?"
Oh, jeez. Anyway, guys, thank you all for being here. Really enjoyed this one. Oh man, so much to look forward to. So nice to be excited about Rider again.
That might be why I was also hinting this would be cool to put out as preview material, because this was a really good podcast and I want lots of people to hear it.
Yeah. We'll see what we can do. To be honest, it might be a good idea. I'll bug you.
Andy, when we're whispering like this, that means you actually can cut this part out.
Andy!
Except for the part where I explained it, because that's kind of funny.
Hi!
Andy, I am so sorry. No,
he's not.
Mikey
made me do it. I feel bad.
Lying.
I feel so bad.
Now let me own up to this. Like Matt had nothing to do with any of this, Andy. Matt was. You didn't hear it because we edited it out before we got our audio to you. Matt was saying like, "Hey, stop being so mean to Andy, guys."
Yep. But
he stuck up for you for like
we
an
led
hour.
we led him down a wrong path, and it's basically peer pressure. He's our peer, and we put pressure. It's not that we don't like you; it's that we just think it's funny.
He's gonna be like, how did you guys talk for 3.5 hours about Exade? It's like, well, the back 40 minutes are a pretty funny story, actually.
There's just this wonderful period of just like, I'm not editing this. Oh, time to have some fun. I think you tried too hard, to be honest, for that. I think you lost some good material there.
It's all right. You repeated the same material during the podcast. That's why 19 minutes got cut.
I don't know how to take that.
Take it the way it should be taken. Andy, quick, end this.
All right. This is for the Patreon people, just saying thank you all so much. We really do appreciate you guys putting your time and money towards all this. Like, we say it often enough, but considering our financial background, we'd have trouble keeping this show going without you. So it is super, super appreciated, and we all hope you enjoyed this. And just in case Andy didn't edit out all this because he's finally snapped in that little cupboard he works out of, I apologize that there wasn't more of us insulting Andy. It's just, I'm tired, and it is late.
Yeah, I have the luxury of being in a time zone where it's just like, it's the end of the afternoon right now. I have a whole day.
You're not even a real country.
Yeah, I know. we're just an amorphous colony, but like, hey,
you're basically like Britain meets France.
And so they continued to talk for hours. Legend even says that the conversation is still going on to this very day, and that Andy is still editing the podcast. One can only assume the poor man went insane and killed everyone who was involved with this show. Only time can tell. Thank you, listeners, and goodbye.
You are now leaving Moonbase 2.